Welcome to the Select Board meeting for Monday, February 2nd. We'll call to order at 6:38 p.m. First item of business, recognition of the Massachusetts Fire Services Commission accreditation for Chief Wonka. Chief, come on up. So on January 21st, we were notified that the Massachusetts Fire Service Commission granted accreditation to Fire Chief Phil Wonka on January 15th of this year. According to the Commission, Chief Wonka has demonstrated the required fire service experience, education, and certifications for accreditation. This accreditation is granted through the Massachusetts Fire Service Commission, a gubernatorial appointed board that has established a process for uniform credentialing for the level of fire chief. Belchertown Fire Chief John S. Ingram, who serves as the chair of the commission, says the program establishes requirements based on education, training, and experience in areas relevant to serving as a fire chief. It establishes benchmarks for training in fire and emergency service management so that chiefs may be better prepared to serve their department and their community. The applicant's documentation is reviewed by a subcommittee of the Massachusetts Fire Service Commission to determine if the individual has attained a minimum level of credits for education, training, and experience. State Fire Marshal John M. Devine said, "This program allows chief officers to document their efforts to develop and maintain the skills to be an effective leader and to manage in today's fire service. The process provides an equal opportunity for the volunteer, call, or full-time fire service leader to meet the minimum criteria for achieving fire chief accreditation. Credentialed participants will be required to renew their credentials every 3 years. The program is open to all members of the fire service in the Commonwealth serving as chief of department. Additionally, any person holding the rank of lieutenant or above in that department is also eligible to apply for credentialing. Participation in this program is voluntary, and all eligible personnel are encouraged to participate." Please join me in congratulating Fire Chief Wonka. No, that was not a small achievement, sir.
No, it was not. A lot of hard work over a lot of years.
So we'll get a photo with you.
Okay.
Before we do that, Chair, if you would entertain a motion,
We would.
I would like to have this letter that you've read entered into our minutes as well as placed in the chief's personnel file for posterity.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Excellent. Where do you want to do it? Where were you thinking? Like right here?
Sure.
Okay.
So right there.
All right.
No, not tonight. It's a marathon no matter which way you go.
Not standing sideways.
Thank you, sir. Did you get into that class?
I did.
Okay.
I'll tell you the story
Okay.
at some point.
Ready, guys?
Yeah.
1, 2, and... Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. All right. Continuing on, we're going to jump up to review of surplus equipment request, Highway Department, F-350 truck, second read.
I have no concerns.
No concerns, sir.
We'll carry to next meeting.
Thank you.
Review of surplus equipment request, Senior Services Department, ice machine, second read.
I have no concerns.
Also no concerns.
Carry to next meeting.
Thank you.
Review of the draft environmentally preferable purchasing EPP policy, second read. Yes.
I was just gonna say, I recall at the last meeting, we discussed maybe adding some more concrete examples or ways to make it easier for department heads trying to comply with the policy to specifically make sure we're not limiting out vendors or limiting out supplies. I know that was a concern that was raised. So I do need to spend a little time on that over the next week, trying to build out that section.
Okay. Anything else on it until then?
None.
No.
Okay. We'll carry till you have that ready.
Excellent.
Review of the professional services engineering proposal for Care Drive, Weston and Sampson, second read.
No concern.
Just making sure that, don't remember if I highlighted something. I was missing, no concerns, no notes here, sir.
All right. We will carry to the next meeting.
Okay.
Oh, we don't have to if you guys are ready. I mean,
It's not a policy.
yeah, you're right. I guess the only question I had was, is there anything in there that the senior housing group would want to review and, or have they, in your opinion, before we approve it? Don't know if there would be because it's not really about that, but
The senior housing committee will be working on the design with the staff and reviewing the proposed bid documents that we're gonna be bringing to the three of you.
with Weston and Sampson and
Correct.
in this
Yeah,
project?
so
Oh,
before
okay.
we
Then
ask you to issue the bid documents,
they're
senior
gonna-
housing committee's sort of our project board
Okay.
that we bringing the idea to and making sure that they have no concerns.
Disregard my question, then I have no, no need for it. So, yeah, I guess, do you guys want to move forward with it tonight? Make a motion?
I will make a motion to engage with Weston and Sampson Engineers Incorporated of Rocky Hill, Connecticut for professional engineering services related to the Care Drive roadway extension project in an amount not to exceed $122,500, and to authorize Brian Smith, Town Administrator, to execute all necessary agreements.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Review of meeting minutes. We have January 12th, 22nd, and 27th.
I make a motion to accept Monday, January 12th, 2026 meeting minutes as written.
Second.
Any discussion?
None.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion, we accept the meeting minutes of Thursday, January 22nd, 2026 as written.
Second.
Any discussion?
Negative.
All in favor?
Aye. Make a motion, we accept the meeting minutes Tuesday, January 27th, 2026 as written.
Chair, just as a point of order, I'm going to be abstaining from this as I wasn't in attendance.
Understood. I will second. Any discussion?
None.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And one abstention.
So one abstention.
Actually, going back to the 22nd minutes, did I make all four of those motions? I might have that night. I did? Okay, all right. I knew one of them I didn't and one I did, so.
Yes.
I believe it was
It was the prior one, right?
Mhm.
That's the one that was correct. Okay. Or they were both correct, because I didn't do that one. Yep, got it. Okay, review of surplus equipment request, police department canine, first read.
I have no concern on the surplus.
Okay.
The only question I had, and I'm trying to make it back to, mentions the reason for the request is the retirement of the canine. I don't have any objections. In fact, I believe it would be in the best interest of the health and well-being of Ziva, but to go in the recommended disposition that's listed. But has she surpassed her serviceable abilities and will be retired, or would she have? Would this?
Are you thinking release versus retire?
Yeah.
I think you're probably right. She is not at, I don't believe, of an age or any other reason to be physically retired yet. It would be more of released, I think, from duty for the town. There is a recommendation to obviously get a waiver and liability
Yep.
release and all that, but and to also restrict from working as a canine in another department in the future. But that doesn't preclude other work that would not be
Right, and that's
within her skill set.
what I was thinking, whether it was to be of service to another agency or on a volunteer level for an unknown search and rescue that might be required in the future of, you know, a lost elder or child or somebody.
Yeah, I also thought demonstration and training, and there's other
Right.
things, right, that she is full well able to do. So, yeah, I think that probably changing that language to release makes more sense than
Okay.
retirement.
Yeah.
We can run that by Chief and make sure he doesn't have any, concerns or anything to add, but I think that makes sense. Okay.
Okay.
We'll let Chief know and get feedback from him, and otherwise we'll carry it for a second read.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Review of Museum Committee Standard Procedures Policy, first read. And there are members here if we have questions, but I know it's first read, so.
The one comment I had is in the second sentence of the first paragraph, it refers to the selectmen, and I would suggest that that be changed to select board, as we've been recognized now for quite some time.
Can you
Good call.
repeat that, Jim? I didn't hear everything you said.
Yeah, I'm not
The-
sure where.
It's listed on the Pearlby Care Building Collection Donation Form. The second sentence starts with the selectmen voted, and
Oh, it should be select board. The wording.
yes.
Easy.
Anything on the standard procedures policy part? Because you jumped a form, which is why I lost what you were
Oh,
talking
I'm
about.
sorry. Did
That's
I
okay.
That's okay.
It's all right. It was needed to. We're
Cause-
doing that next.
causing trouble again? Jumping out of order. I had no concerns with the standard procedures.
Bill?
I would probably like a little background on the need for the standard policy and procedure on public citizens coming in and out.
I don't know who wants to take that and come join us up here. And I think it's kind of why or what is the basis, right,
Right,
for
yeah.
for the
Yeah.
request to have these.
Which one was that, Bill, that you were wondering
Just in general, overall, how you arrived at, or why you arrived at that policy and procedure.
Like needing to
Well,
have one?
Right.
Why
I
you feel-
think it was just for transparency, and so that we could have something to go by, to be accountable. I mean, so we're not just being willy-nilly. I don't know if anybody else wants to, if either of you want to speak more to that. But it really was just to be, to lay out what our procedures were for how we're doing what we're doing. Other than that, I don't.
Did you want to offer
Can I
something?
just add some context?
Pardon?
Can I add some context?
Yes, please.
The building has largely been closed to the public over the last 5 years. And so I believe the first draft of this policy had a lot to do with people coming and going while it's not open to the public.
Good point.
And that there were sometimes the committee members would go in and maybe things had been moved or maybe something wasn't where they left it the last time. And trying to make sure that there's accountability for who's coming and going in between moments. I don't know that this was specifically contemplating the moments when the museum committee would be opening the space to the public. I don't know that this was contemplating visitors who are there to see the collection at a very particular time while it's opened and advertised to the public. So maybe we can spend some time talking about what that looks like. I believe this was more to deal with this period of time when there could be weeks in between people entering the building or days, and making sure that there's accountability, to Leslie's point.
Yeah. And really to help us as a committee to know who's been there and who hasn't. And I mean, I didn't think of this until just now, but I suppose like if Glenn came in or his crew and had to move something, it might be good if they signed in. I mean, it's one more, might be a pain for them, but just so we know who's in there, so there's no surprises, that's all. And if the door is left unlocked, we can say, oh, you were the last one there. For example. Not to point fingers, but.
So I didn't have, just so the committee understands, my concern was just how we arrived at that policy and procedure.
I'm the newest
and-
member on the committee, so Terry's out sick, so she's not here, and she probably would have the answer to that.
Right.
But I thought it was something that you folks had kind of wanted, so I guess it wasn't.
Well, it's good to know what necessitated that policy and
Yeah,
procedure.
just to be accountable.
I have no problems with that.
Okay. And we'll fix the wording on that on number 5 to select board.
Any other questions on it?
Yep.
I know we already talked about it quickly, but review of the museum committee donation form first read. Any other comments on that, on the form?
Not at this time, I don't have anything else.
Okay, I don't either. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.
We'll carry both for next meeting for second read.
Thank you.
Let's see, what time is it? 6:56. I'm going to recommend we hold off on the IT department staffing discussion until after the joint meeting, if that makes sense, and then
That makes sense.
we'll take the next 4 minutes to kind of get settled in.
Agreed.
Okay. If capital planning and finance want to come up and get settled, we'll pause here until 7 and get started.
Do you need a printed copy of the schedule? Who's going when?
I don't, I have it digitally, thank you. Just FYI, I will swap sides. call the joint meeting with the Finance Committee and the Capital Planning Committee to order. First, on review general government department budgets. First one up is tax collector. Welcome, Michelle.
Hello.
Any questions on the narrative? Any questions on the budget?
We were just saying that she'd rather I don't do this to her, so there should be some questions. Any questions?
That's not true. They're just warming up with me.
Okay.
The easiest budget, most consistent, smallest amount of line items probably. So don't expect to have any questions. But if you do, I'm here. Brian made me come.
We told him to make everybody
I know,
come,
and I'm
so
ju-
we'll take that one.
I'm just kidding. It's good for me to get out of my shell.
We're always glad to see you.
Just for the 10,000 people watching from home that we always have on a Monday night, just level funding. There's no big surprises that you had in the past year, and there's none that you're anticipating
Correct.
coming forward.
All right. Is that it?
I think that is it. Thank you.
You made
Okay.
it.
Thank you.
All right. Next up,
Now for next year, I'm going to have to invent weird questions to
Weird.
ask. Just so we can ask
Something-
them something.
Out of left field.
next up, accounting. Deb? Welcome.
Thank you for inviting me here tonight so I could sit next to Jackie, who has a cold.
I was here first. You said
Well, I didn't know you had a cold until I said it.
my grandkids.
You're welcome. It was all part of the plan.
Yeah.
Any questions on the narrative or on the budget? The trying to see where the change is there.
Changes in wages, the addition of the assistant position, and then
Okay.
just the change in the steps on
Steps.
that, yeah, and the additional hours that weren't fully estimated back in last year's budget, but were finalized when we did the hiring for this year.
I thought they were in the budget.
They were partially in the accountant's budget, and then
Right.
we talked about supplementing out of administration's office. So
Okay.
this just incorporates it all into the accounting office.
So the portion out of the admin is not there anymore, it's here?
Correct.
Is there a corresponding decrease expected somewhere in the admin budget that ties out to that or no?
Should be.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So effectively between the two, it's level funded
There's
in,
obviously
for that.
step increase.
Yeah, outside of that.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I gotcha. All right. Any other questions?
You asked mine for me. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. We're all set.
I knew it. You just wanted to make me come here so you'd know I really exist.
We just want you to keep coming so that you know we want you to be here and you can keep showing up every year. Thanks, Deb.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Treasury, Health Insurance, and Benefits. Welcome up here, Jen.
Mine won't be as easy.
Right.
Not my fault, though.
Questions on the narrative before we dive into the budget part? Okay. Jumping into the budget. So wages adjusted for someone else in the position next year.
Correct. I used step 3.
Okay, that was going to be my question. Thank you. Any other questions on the treasurer budget?
I was just gonna ask, I guess this is more back to the narrative. You had mentioned in your narrative that the locked-in interest rate is expiring as of April 1st. Is that something you'll be trying to negotiate a new one for us?
I'll try.
or-
Yep. As always.
Is that something that you're able to do prior, or is it something that happens after? I guess, like, just from a budgeting standpoint, do you know when we might know if they'll
Yeah,
lock
I can
one
have
in?
talks in the next few weeks. Yeah, absolutely. I
Okay.
can reach out. Yep. We still have $1.3 million in general funds in bonds too. So that was secured. So we have like a rolling 12, 9, or 3, 6, 9, 12. So those are still earning us higher interest than our 3% right now.
Gotcha.
And we're getting a little low on funds, so I'm getting a little nervous.
Hopefully the 3 is almost up.
Well, I just mean is hopefully taxes are
Oh,
revenue is going to come in soon.
Gotcha.
Right.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did.
Okay. On to benefits. Oh, I skipped retirement, didn't I?
So retirement's an assessment, obviously, that is beyond our control.
Yeah, go
Yeah,
on.
there's nothing we can do about
I
that.
jumped over
unfortunately.
that
As
one,
wages
but
go
didn't
up,
mean
so
to.
does the assessment.
Okay, so that's actual, that's been set, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm. And that's the, if we pay on July 1st,
Which we always do.
Lump
there's
sum.
there's a 2.5% discount or something for prompt payment.
That's
we've assumed that,
calculated, yeah,
correct.
okay.
And I believe, did we back the 25,000 out of that? Maybe we didn't. That might include POTW.
I'll have to double check that.
Okay.
So we'll double check that one more time. So there's a
Oh,
portion that
for the
gets attributed
enterprise?
to the enterprise fund. So we'll verify that.
So it might go down 25,
25,000.
or it's
Potentially.
correct, one or the other. All right.
At this point, I'll start creating that memo like we do to track any changes, and I can follow up on that and let you know for your next meeting. So,
Okay. Unemployment, same thing, it's just an assessment, correct?
Yes. Our current rate is 0.1. I'm going to print that out too. So we're actually doing pretty good, although we have a couple claims going right now. So it might bump our rate up for next year, but we're locked in for 0.1 for 2026. So at least half the fiscal year.
Okay.
Previous year was 0.1. 2024 is 0.2. We hadn't, highest was 2023. It was 0.3. That was just like kind of seeing the effects after COVID.
Got it. Okay, now actually down to health insurance benefits. So this is the 18 and the 20 and the projected 20?
Yes. Again, we don't have a definite answer yet.
Do we have any indication yet of what they're thinking?
I
or no?
apologize. I haven't been at the meetings. You might be able to speak more
what
to
I
that.
heard was that they're considering, and this is out for consideration, they haven't scheduled the vote yet, but it's looking like about 16%, somewhere in that ballpark. They've started to hear from their consultants that they brought on to help them through the situation about not only what the rate increase should be for next year, but also options to consider for plan design changes, which they understand if they were to propose those, that we'd have a bargaining obligation that we need to go through. So we're hoping that they give us some clear information about what they're proposing in the coming weeks, and then we can meet with the three of you and talk about what we need to do next, if anything. So.
Questions? Okay.
How many, with this increase, Jen, how many slots did you budget for? None. So no cushion at all.
No, I anticipated using the 20% that we would have. If we
Yeah.
did budget 20%, that would give us a little cushion if it was less.
Okay.
I didn't anticipate it actually being 20%, a 20, and a 20.
Yeah, okay.
And this increase represents approximately 40, right? Because we had budgeted the first 20 last year, or in the current year.
Correct. But we had to go ahead and, yeah, for the special, we had to go ahead and make that adjustment.
Yeah. Roughly, what can you tell us what a full would be? Just like a max cost, just so we have a sense if we're trying to put any cushion in there, or
Of
how much
per person.
cushion, you know,
Yes, I could. I have my rate sheet.
if it comes down to 16% instead of, you know, how much that might give us.
The highest plan.
Yeah, roughly. Just with the new 20%, assuming it goes up another 20.
Yeah, you're looking at like 32.50. That's per month, so times 12, so almost $39,000.
How much?
39,000 per employee on a family plan PPO.
We'll round it to 40 and call it a day for now.
I remember we were talking like 20s.
I know, I was like
per
22,
employee,
25
and it
was
wasn't
not that
long
many
ago.
years ago. Jeez. Wow. Well, 60% increases in 12 months. Oof.
However, we have been very lucky to have the plans that we have had for the cost. I will say that.
Understood. Other questions on that one?
Just trying to, as much as I've thought about this and talked about it and discussed it, and still trying to absorb and what we're gonna do about it.
Oh, I don't mean we have that answer yet.
No, I know we don't.
Well, it's tough too because we have our retirees as well, so they always stay on our books as well. So as we continue to hire and people retire, our pool continues to get larger. Hopefully, eventually, we'll be able to go ahead and draw from OPEB. We still are far out from fully funding. I didn't put the 100,000 on here. I'm assuming maybe we want it. That's coming up if we were going to continue to contribute. So that we can eventually draw from those funds.
How much did we do for OPEB last year? Do you recall?
I believe it's 100.
100? Okay.
Yep.
I know we
Then-
reduced it.
We've done 100 for the last 2 years.
Yeah. That was on here somewhere. Maybe I didn't put that one in.
All right, well, I'm going to keep going down the list then. Speak up if you have any other questions on it. Life insurance, very minor. Medicare assessment.
No, as we just go up.
Yeah, okay. And then other. Other ordinary expenses really isn't. It's only about 500. Again, it's small increase there, 550. The negative 99 is the OPEB article showing up is not there. So,
Right.
Yeah.
so speaking of that, are we at least for now placeholdering 100? Is that
I
where we
think
want
we
to be?
should. Yeah, I think we
Okay.
should.
At 100?
At least 100 and see where we are in the end.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else on any of those before we let Jen go?
No,
All right. Thank you, Jen.
You're welcome.
thank you.
Next up, town clerk and elections. Come on up, Dick. So quite a couple changes coming, but any questions on anything in the narrative from the team?
No.
Okay. And then, in terms of that, how about budget? Any questions on budget? All right.
So, and other than wages, everything is level funded.
Yeah, and wages are more than
Right.
just steps and stuff, but election driven, right? Is that because of the number of elections?
So,
Or
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the beginning of that.
the election, so in salary and wage, it's not just steps, you have additional in the election section for salary and wages, more than steps, obviously, so.
Yeah, so as I said in the narrative, what that relates to is the fact that for the state primary, we have to have in-person voting, so that's 40 hours there. And then for the state election, we have to have 2 weeks. So that makes it 80 hours. So I have to have a poll worker to cover all those hours, extra hours.
Okay, any other questions?
Your next page in that packet has a detailed breakdown of everything he's talking about
For the elections, yeah.
for the elections.
I think what I was getting towards is, it's the primaries that are driving it being higher this year
Right,
versus
so you got
last
the
year, for
primary in
example.
September and then the regular state election in November.
Right,
Yeah, so.
so more than the
That-
current year.
Yeah, as you're probably used to seeing over the years, it ebbs and flows. Sometimes, like this year, I only had one. Sometimes I have 3. Sometimes I have 2. You know, it depends on how the elections fall in a fiscal year.
Okay. I think we should be all set. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a
Oh, wait,
a
sorry.
question.
Go ahead.
Are there any proposed impacts to the town as related to mail-in voting not happening or being allowed in the state of Massachusetts?
Well, it's still allowed in Massachusetts.
Right, right.
And so, in fact, I've had a handful of people already say, for all elections this year, I want to have a ballot mailed to me. And so for the state and primary election, we get reimbursed for the postage, but not for the town election. We have to pay our own way on that. And so far, I didn't think to count that, but I feel like I've got 6 or 8 people that have already signed up that want to have mail-in ballots. It costs, well, last year, I know the postage rates went up, so it was a buck something, I think it was $1.40 to send the whole packet out to them. So I don't think it's, the local election, I just haven't got that many in yet. But there'll be more for the state primary and the state election because the Secretary of State's office is going to mail those cards again to every registered voter. If I don't already have them in the system as all elections this year, everybody will get one. But again, they pay the postage on those, so it doesn't really impact us. We have to lay it out up front, but we get reimbursed.
On the town clerk, expenses undefined, in FY '25, it was over the budget. And for this year, it looks like it's already almost at budget. And I'm not sure what's in there, because I don't know why. I thought expenses undefined was discontinued,
Oh,
but I'm noticing it as.
well, I don't know what I had in undefined. I don't remember what I did there. What it is the election expenses account underneath on the page, that's not
Yep.
part of this Zobrio stuff. You can see that number 5950. It's the sum of all these things. It's where I have to buy the ballots. I have to pay for programming for the Automark and for the
sorry to interrupt you, not in the elections, in the town clerk budget,
Oh,
in the page before, or at least in our printed in the page before. 161, 200, 100, 57, 800. It's the line before 900 articles.
I used to call that, here, the thing got named undefined, and I think I just use it as general town clerk expenses. That's where I buy my paper and my toner cartridges and things like that.
So it sounds like we'd probably add an office supply line
That would make sense.
for next year. Or for
So
the
you
rest
wanna-
of this year, I don't know. I think we should add a line for that, to be clear what it is, because undefined just doesn't mean anything and to us up here. And then my second concern was just that it was over budget by almost 50% in FY '25, and it looks like you're almost at budget already with the total through March. Year-to-date
Yeah.
actuals. So,
It's, those, most of that is likely the toner cartridges that are outrageously expensive. I'd have to go back and look and see the details as to what actually went into that account. I don't know off the top of my head all the items from last year.
I think if we can figure out what the detail of that category is or has been historically, and then, I don't know if it's something, probably not as simple as just changing this title or creating a new line, but something that just makes it a little clearer as to what exactly those expenses are.
So all we could do, I can run you the detail and we can confirm that it's office supplies. If that's the case, we can create the new line item, journal entry, the existing charges to the new line item, and then amend the budget request to reflect that. You wouldn't be able to get rid of past year's history. So it
Oh,
would
yeah,
take
yeah, no.
a
of
while
course.
for it to stop showing up, but at least start the process of migrating it.
Yeah.
So I could do that.
and you can journal it over for FY '26.
Only FY26.
So FY '26 and going forward, it'll look correct, but,
Correct.
okay.
Yep, so I can run the expenditure report and confirm with Deb and Dick.
So we'll create that, we'll move it over for this year, assuming it matches what's in there.
Yep.
And then can you get us some information on whether or not you expect that's the right amount? Because I'm just concerned that we went over last full year and it's already almost at budget for this year.
Yeah, no, I think that we're probably good for this year.
Okay.
I'll
yeah,
have to
once
go-
you
I'll
see
have to go
what's
back
in
and
there.
look and see exactly, what I put into that account that was, I feel like it was something different, that was related to the position, for town clerk office stuff, but it was, I don't think it was just toner cartridges. I think it was something else, and I can't pull it up right now.
That's fine, you can get back to us on it. Any others? That was, I think, the only one we had, or that I had a question on. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, on to Conservation Commission. Come on up, Mark.
I really wasn't going to say much because there's not much to the budget, but I really wanted to make clear that this last year has seen the Conservation Commission having to deal with more and bigger permitting situations than I think anybody can remember. We've had to look into wetland assessments for a large property that may end up with a battery storage property on it, building on it. The senior housing here, a large parking lot, a relatively small solar field next to a river, and a boulder that needs to be pulled out of a stream.
It's It's a
Well, the
variety.
boulder's quite large, isn't it? Yeah, but, so, we've never had to deal with this kind of thing before. And, so, I don't know whether I can answer any question about what we do, or how we do it. But the budget, by the way, is pretty much what we have had in the past, and is going to allow us, hopefully this year, to complete the last of the trails on the conservation area that were originally planned years ago when that land was acquired. So, any
Excellent.
questions?
I'm gonna ask, why are we taking a boulder out of a stream?
I think that's off topic. Now go ahead.
Basically, if it falls into the brook, well, it's undercut. There's nothing underneath it. People play in the stream. You know, it's the stream's in the middle of the town there. And if it were to fall down, it would be a problem.
Got it. Okay.
And we've already permitted. We're just waiting for good weather.
Ah. Yeah, this is probably not the weather for that.
Huh?
I said, this is probably not the weather for that. I don't think anybody
No,
wants to go play
no.
in the brook right now.
Nope.
Other questions?
The one that I, the one that I had, when you mentioned you're now doing things that in this past year that you never had to do before, are you seeing that as a one-off, that this was a unique year, or are you seeing this as a sign of things to come?
I hope it's a one-off. But from the projects of last year, the battery storage question is going to come back again because they withdrew their wetland assessment because they didn't want it to run out. And it may come back this year to be done all over again. I don't know when the actual projects, the wetland assessment is one phase, then the notice of intent is the second phase when they present construction plans. And I'm not sure, they weren't sure in their timing. And and there are lots of questions to be brought up with that. I think we're all finished with the senior housing. I think all of our permitting regarding that is done from our viewpoint. And the parking lot, that's all taken care of from our point. The solar project next to the river is still got some reviewing going to do. And I don't know where else in town you're gonna put something that's big enough to cause us another headache. There's culverts that need to be
Careful
replaced.
what you wish
I was
for.
going to say,
Don't borrow trouble.
Right. Right. Yes. Yeah. So,
My question is, the projects that, the first two projects that you mentioned, besides the rock in the brook, boulder in the brook, do those projects necessitate expertise, help that's needed by Conservation Commission in the cost?
what the process is when someone comes with a project they want to do, and a wetland assessment has to be done. They hire an expert that they pay for, and they do an assessment of all the wetlands and the boundaries and all the so forth that's related to wetland assessment. Then they present that assessment. We then hire our own person at their expense. So we have a number of different organizations with people with expertise. And we hire them, they report to us, but the applicant pays for them. So then we get those get all presented at a meeting, at one of our open meetings, and they have to bring everything together in everybody has to come to agreement on what's found. on the parking lot, there was a whole host of vegetation-related questions that came up that were very nicely resolved by our consultant. The only things that have come up so far on the project down by the river have been brought up. We have a Department of Environmental Protection person, Mark Stinson, who goes over all our forms and everything else and makes sure we check the right box and put the right date in the right place. And he's brought up some considerations for them to look into. And so that's an additional layer. And, you know, that's all state paid for, not us. So I feel like with that process of hiring experts that are experts in the fields, that, you know, we're taken care of.
Okay, thank you.
We're learning things. Any other questions?
All set. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Stay warm out there. Assessing and Board of Assessors. Jackie, Diane, I don't know, both? One, both? Who's coming?
Your note said only one, but we can
You're
both
right.
sit up here.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know who was, sorry. Who was
No,
representing
no.
tonight?
My last hurrah.
Right.
Not as a principal assessor. So our budget,
Before we jump into that, anything in the narrative?
Oh, yes,
Any questions
sorry.
on the narrative?
any questions in the narrative?
Okay.
Okay,
Budget?
all right. So we had some decreases, mostly in wages due to my retirement. There was a slight increase or a decrease due to a new plan in the telecommunications. We had an increase in membership. Diane is part of the International Assessors Association. That was an increase in dues. And I'm still going to maintain my Massachusetts Accredited Association as an assessor. And we did a reduction in the legal services general because we don't feel that our legal costs will be as great because we're not currently pending in an ATB account. We do have quite a bit of funds in there, about 89,000, so we put the 20,000 to put a little bit more in, but we didn't need as much as the 35. And then what we did do was we took the basically the extra and we put it in, we put 40,000 in under the appraisal services because of the Mountain Project appraisal, which will be required because it's a recertification year. That's all it for fiscal year 27. So if you have any questions about that, I do have an issue with fiscal year 26 being over budget, but I wanted to keep them separate.
I have a question. So legal services general line, you decreased that to 20,000.
Well, yes.
But you're saying there you have $89,000 in that line?
We have $89,000 in that line, but we do have 3 pending years for ATB, which is where we fund the lawyer out of that. $90,000 doesn't go far when you're fighting an appellate tax board case. And so instead of putting in the 35 like we had been, because it's a continuing appropriation, we just put in the 20 to bring it up approximately to 100,000 to use for that. I mean, we could cut it down a little bit if you were looking to cut it down, but know that $90,000 doesn't go very far when you're talking to your lawyer and they're preparing for an ATB case.
What have the legal fees been so far?
Well, I think we spent, I would hazard a guess, we spent a couple $100,000 on legal fees over the ATB case with everything. Does that sound about right? I'd have to go back and look.
Okay, I'm just curious, like, what was for example, I'll use FY '26, how much money was in the legal account for FY '26 and how much actually was spent out of the legal account for FY '26?
We've spent very little this particular year, but I do urge you to remember that our previous legal counsel passed away. We didn't receive a bill for all the work that she had done the prior year. So I know the last time she submitted a bill, it was about $50,000. But I don't know, and the estate hasn't moved forward, so I'm going to assume that we haven't received any. It's been over a year. I think that they're just not going to bill. I think they dissolved the business, but and we do have another attorney who is slightly more than our previous legal counsel.
Okay.
Which to date is $705 in expenses. So
Right,
it
yeah,
must
they-
not have been billed recently.
Right.
So,
We haven't done a lot of work with him,
right.
but we are currently involved in discussions with him. Is there any other questions? All right, let's talk about the interest from the ATB case that was recently issued and settled. I sent everyone a memo and a backup email that we sent to the the finance director of DOR and legal counsel. Did everyone get a copy of it? If they didn't, I did make paper copies. Does anybody need a paper copy? It was earlier in the day, so. Does anyone else need one?
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
No, thank you.
So I'm not sure if you were aware, but when Brian was at the MIA?
MMA.
MAA, yeah. Anyways, he had talked to Deb Wagner, who is the director of finance at the Department of Revenue, and had talked about our interest issue. And so he had received a reply, and then we sent this email on Thursday, which you'll see in the preceding page, seeking some clarifications regarding the recent ATB decision and award that was issued for the taxpayer that did not initially exceed our overlay balance, but with the addition of the mandatory 8% interest caused a deficiency in our overlay account. So we laid out the facts to DOR legal and Deb Wagner, and Jim Crowley called us back that day. So Jim Crowley is an attorney, a long-standing attorney with DOR Legal Services. I think the man's probably been there for 50 years. Anyways, in response to the email that we sent, Jim Crowley called and talked to both Diane and myself, and the following are the options available to the town, listed in the order of their preference. They recommended putting the interest charges on an interest abatement line item, and he recommended it be listed under the treasurer's line item, but had no issue if it was under the assessor's line item. And the following two funding mechanisms could be used, which was free cash to pay for the interest portion of the award, or stabilization. Option one would need to be finalized by June 30th of this year, before you start the next fiscal year. The interest amount is $742,482. The other option is to charge the complete ATB decision and interest to the overlay account. The account will then have a deficit balance of $504,202.45, which does not take into consideration the exemptions and the abatements for fiscal year '26 that had already been issued and the uncollected taxes from the previous years, which totals approximately $100,000. This brings the deficit up to $604,202.45. This does not consider any pending abatements that are before the ATB and are still outstanding. We currently have 3. Fiscal '23, '24, and '25. Option 2 needs to be resolved before the fiscal 2027 tax rate can be finalized. Option 2 is viable, but Attorney Crowley was adamant that it would not look favorably by the DOR and did not recommend it. And I believe you had a conversation with him this morning as well, Brian?
Correct, Diane and
Yeah.
I spoke to him this morning. He did indicate that there were the multiple paths. The first path is the more traditional, I think is the word he used. That DOR used to, that was what the law required, and that's how DOR has set their guidance. But it creates a deficit in a way that maybe people aren't used to seeing, so.
So it's really up to the Select Board and the Finance Committee what you want your next steps to do. We have a deficit. We could, if you chose to put most of it in the overlay account, it would leave the it would, even if you only raise the, 604,202, it would leave us with 0 in the overlay for upcoming years. And as I said, we still have pending years with the ATV. We wanted to present you with the options of what they were and the amount and what the recommendation of the Department of Revenue gave us. Yes.
Jackie, my question would be, DOI used the language that they would look unfavorably on option 2, leaving a deficit
Yes.
to the overlay.
He was.
What does that mean? What can the DOR do to the town of Erving if we went that route? And
Well, you couldn't close your books, and this is more of a Deb Merrill question, but if you have an unresolved issue, you wouldn't get your tax rate set. You wouldn't, you would still be able to issue your preliminary billing, because that's what we do. We do that before our tax rate is set now. So you would have the first quarter in, but you probably wouldn't make the December timeline and have the actual bills issued before the end of December. Therefore, your collection date for the other, for the final bill would be May 1st instead of April 1st, which is what it is now. I don't know what else they can do other than not approve your tax rate, which kind of leaves you at a standstill. That is the impression I got when he said they would look unfavorable at it. They also might scrutinize us a little bit more than they already do. I'm not sure. He was the one that said he didn't really like that option.
It was clear that it was preferable to
Yes,
the more traditional path.
right.
He also just spoke to, and Dan can correct me if I'm wrong, the transparency.
Right.
In terms of making sure that the voters could see that there's a interest expense that had to be paid. If it's in the overlay account, it may not always be appreciated that there's expenditures coming out of there.
So I guess I should back up a little bit, and I apologize for that. So the overlay is something that the voters don't get to vote on, right? Because it goes in, it's under the assessor's auspices. Now, we're very transparent and open here about it, but there is a place on page 2 of the recapitulation sheet that's listed for interest and penalties and awards. It's the same page that your charges and receipt go on. It just goes on. It doesn't get any voter input at all. Just goes on. So I'm thinking, if I had to guess, that's why they don't want us to do it that way, because there's no transparency to it. Whereas if you go with the free cash or the stabilization option, or raise and appropriate it separately, I guess, then the voters understand the burden that's there and the amount.
thank you.
And so if I followed the Deb Wagner, who director of the department said that's not the way they want it done, or that's not okay, and whatever. And then her employee, who is the Jim Crowley, who called and said
Well,
they don't like it.
He's not his employee. He's in DOR legal, over here in the legal branch. He's one of the, he's not the top guy, that's Ken Woodward, but he's right underneath it. And then Deb Wagner's over here on the Bureau of Local Accounts. So they're the two separate branches of the Department of Revenue.
Right.
One is accounting and one is
Legal.
legal. And so they
So-
both gave us the same answer.
So in the memo, it said that she was the director of Bureau of Accounts and DLS Law. Is she not the director of DLS Law?
She is the Director of Bureau of Accounts and DS Law Attorney. They're two separate, I'm sorry, it wasn't clear in that. They're two
There's
separate
a
paths.
period in there, or maybe it's
Yeah.
just an artifact from a scan, but it looks
Oh.
like a period after
Oh.
DS Law, like that's a statement
on-
of what
yeah.
her jobs are, so
Yeah, sorry.
I didn't look it up
Yeah.
to confirm, so.
I don't believe she's.
I
the
don't
director
have
of
the
law
period on
department.
my
Okay, thank you.
original, yeah,
That's fine.
sorry.
So
Should be a comma.
Attorney Crowley is not part of her department.
No, he's,
It's the law
he's,
department.
yeah, Bureau of, yeah, he's in the legal department.
So two branches of the DOR tree
Yes.
is saying they don't like this.
One
Yes.
saying you can't do it, and one saying you don't like it,
Yes.
which is
Their
clear
preference
as
is we
mud.
do it this way.
Okay.
The only difference is they suggested attributing it to the treasurer's office.
But they don't
Okay.
care of where we put it,
They
as long
don't-
as it's not an overlay.
It needs to be an expense account,
Okay.
which is as firm as they were being with me on exactly what we do, and then they gave guidance as to what they've seen in other towns or their typical best practice that they were recommending.
So I guess because feels so 11th hour, one of my questions would be, Jackie, if we had legal helping us on this and legal working through this process with us, is this not something the attorney that we were working with should have flagged that this is how, like, what this was our suggestion? Should that attorney not have been like, hey guys, that's not normally how you do this? I'm just trying to understand how we got here at the 11th hour.
I can't speak to counsel for the Board of Assessors because I don't know what those conversations are. I know I've spoken to town council, and his reaction was to follow the guidance of DOR, if that's what they're asking for. He did ask that we get it in writing because he wants to make sure it's a consistent answer. With that being said, I think that there is this IGR document that the Department of Revenue issues, and assessors, tax collectors, accountants all rely on these IGR documents to give them sort of the applicability of how to administer the regulations and the laws. And there is this IGR document, it's IGR 17-23, that they keep referring to, that has added this language that says may.
Yes.
And so that is where the interpretation came from, that it could be attributed to the overlay. And that Mr. Crowley's even saying, yes, that IGR is effective. There are these things, but
Not to cut you off,
No.
I understand what you're saying. That doesn't answer my, you're explaining the scenario, but my question is, did our, I guess I'm trying to understand if there is a concern that it should not have been done the way that we were suggesting it. Is that not something that the lawyer that was working with us at that should have pointed out, or?
I guess what I was trying to get to is, I don't know that that question would have been asked to the attorneys.
Right.
Okay.
It's not
That
an
would have been
attorney
internal.
question, it's a Department of Revenue question.
So if their own document says it can be done this way, or is that where we're getting into this interpretation?
Yes.
There was the Muni Modernization Act in 2016 that touched hundreds of laws. It made several changes, and this is apparently one of the changes that it adjusted. And so they have tried to issue guidance to try to help towns through this process. The issue that I was having with town council today when I was discussing it again with him, he's never, in his time practicing law, has not seen an interest payment this high. So this is an unusually
Leave it
high
to
amount of money. Right. This is unusual.
So
I
that-
think
that-
it's also drawing attention to it.
Right.
Okay.
Now, I can tell you that Attorney Crowley gave us an example. The town of Lynn was issued a 3.2 award a few years ago, and they went through special legislation to pay it back in 3 years. But that's a special act.
And you mean, when you're saying that, you mean carry a deficit on
Yes,
the books?
carry on a deficit on the books for
Yeah.
3 years, but that requires special legislation.
Right. So part of what Jackie was also explaining is we could carry that deficit into 2027 by attributing it to the overlay. We're still going to have to rectify it before we can set a tax rate or finalize our budget. And if we can't finalize it through the town meeting process, or we don't have a sufficient levy, you then start going, you're up against the schedule of the calendar in terms of when you can finalize, set your tax rate, and then issue those secondary bills.
Well, and it's all about, cash flow. I mean, the secondary bills are issued in December, and currently they're due April 1st, which gives us 30 days earlier to have all our funds in from our taxpayers. That would not occur if you know, however we're going to deal with the interest deficit.
And so in actuality, it sounds like our options aren't really options. We have a option, it sounds like.
You have options.
Option A and option B.
Yes, we have option A and option B. For the accountant side of the equation, not meaning our accountant, but for the DOR, they prefer option A, which is cleaner for them. It's in a line item, it's accounted for, it's transparent to the voters, everything like that. But if the town wants to, they can do option B. It's the same amount of money regardless.
But we had this meeting with the assessor, the Board of Assessors, and yourselves about where we were at with this and the costs involved, and made decisions about the tax rate and whether or not to hold a special town meeting, potentially allocate funds based on, at least myself, based on the facts that we would be able to pay for the interest out of overlay. So we didn't choose to do something else with excess levy. And so now it's all in overlay, and yet the guidance is now that we shouldn't attribute the interest expense there. So we put money in there that we would have been able to use to pay this, that now we can't.
Well,
unless the assessors are considering surplusing some of it.
there is none to surplus. So we had
There-
$2.5 million in overlay that included the fiscal year 26 amount, right? The total award came to 3.1.
The total overlay is 2.6 according to our filing. It's 2.627 according to what we filed for 26 for the tax rate. Before the 100,000 of open items.
You could be right, I'm not looking at the overlay on there, but,
Sure.
That's not the one I want.
But either way, we had 2,340 roughly that we had to pay.
Right, I mean,
And so we put 300,000 into overlay, and we don't need that much now.
you could take $100,000 out of the overlay, and then so you have about $50,000 in uncollected real estate and personal property taxes. That's in the OL1. And we will use approximately $50,000 in exemptions and abatements this year.
Right.
We've done most of our exemptions. It's around the $40,000 mark. We do have some abatements that have come in. So maybe there'll be about $5,000, I don't know, it's a $10,000 cushion. So you could use $100,000 of that overlay. But that doesn't give you anything for the 3 other pending ATB cases you have. We would be starting at a 0 or very close to 0, if not exactly at 0. So
But my issue is, so when we talked about the STM 2 weeks ago, roughly, whatever it was, I believe it was around 560, I don't have it pulled up. That was the article to bring overlay into about the 100,000 or the net of that we needed to cover prior open items as well as expected abatements is 560. Now when we're taking the interest out completely at 740, the difference there should be excess, which is almost $200,000 in overlay. So somewhere the math isn't working for me.
Well, when I did
so
the-
I understand it will bring it to near zero, but that's what we were talking about 2 weeks ago with the STM plan for the overlay account. So if now we've taken interest out completely, the difference is $190,000. That should be excess in
And
the
you-
overlay, right?
It could, yeah, well, it will be what we, I'd have to look at the numbers and look at them. All I've been working with is what we paid in interest, because they said, take out what the interest payment, what the interest for the award was. That was 742,000 and change, right? And then what the award was. I added those together, right? And I had and I don't remember, to be honest, the other one on the number for what was in the overlay at the time, and I don't have it in front of me, so I'm a little at a disadvantage here. So whatever the board and the finance committee decide to do is fine, just know that we're approximately 600 or 500 and something thousand over. We don't have it, we have a hole in it, and you can decide how you want to do it, but that's what it is. The Department of Revenue suggested the interest, taking all the interest out and creating an interest line, which is what that's what the assessor's account says. Now, if you choose to do a blend of both, that's fine with the assessors. We're just basically telling you that we'll be at very low leftover for the pending other cases, which could be substantial. That's all, I guess, I'm cautioning you about is that it's not, it won't be at a negative, whatever we decide, and I'll have to have Deb Merrill check the numbers, because some of it is, she doesn't have all of what's been used yet in exemptions, because it hasn't hit her books yet, right? So we'd have to, and then we could project forward a little bit, at least on the exemptions, because those are due by April 1st, on what we would use for that, and then on the abatements. And then whatever is in uncollected taxes so far. And then we could come up with a number. But the number I was using, which is the 742,000, was what the interest payment was. And I took that out completely. It doesn't really, at this point, we have to pay interest. We've already paid, the check's already been issued and cashed. We have a deficit that we have to account for. And however we do it is really up, however the finance committee and the select board want to do it is fine. And my only caution would be is when we're budgeting this year for the overlay account, just keep in mind that we still have those 3 pending years with the ATB. So we'll have to have a somewhat large cushion eventually in the next couple of years, just in case, or we're going to find ourselves back in this position.
So, go ahead.
Well, I don't feel like I can make a decision, because none of these numbers are making sense, because at our last meeting, which was the joint with the assessors, when this whole thing was presented that this money needed to be taken care of, and we are originally going to go with option 2, we had talked about the fact that the FY26 deposit of $200,000 had not been calculated into the figures. And then on top of that, there was our excess of about $100,000. So that gave us $300,000 that the assessor said could be put towards this bill. That, to me, would say that $300,000 should then still be there and be able to come out and be put into an interest line item and be put towards this bill.
So I made an error at that meeting that Deb caught me on. When I looked at the fiscal year 26 overlay, I didn't realize that it included the money that we were going to be putting in, the $300,000. And I mentioned at that meeting that I made the error. So you're going to have that error to start with. So you have to go back and start from, and maybe that, that got lost in the thing, but that was where the error occurred, was in that second line of that memo, which was I included the total of FY26 in the overlay balance when I should not have. It should have been $300,000 less. Because when I looked at the OL1, I did not realize that it included the $300,000 we were going to be putting in as part of the fiscal '26 budget.
Did you
That
wanna-
was the comment I wanted to make, that there was an error at the last meeting.
Okay. There was the error, but even with the error, the difference between what we were contemplating when it was in overlay completely and the excess that should be in overlay, if we're doing the same calculation, that I would hope we can attribute towards the interest in a different account, should still be there. My question is, if I understand it, the Board of Assessors has to declare surplus to move overlay money out. Where does it end up if they do that?
It ends up in the general fund,
Okay.
but there is no surplus to declare at this point. Except maybe, well, they have to declare it by a certain point, but all things have to be considered in order to declare it surplus. And right now, there is no surplus. Or there might be a little. I wouldn't say none. There might be a little in there. But the Department of Revenue would not let you declare it surplus if you have pending ATB cases. There is a line in the OL1 that says, what is your future liability on pending ATB cases?
That was my question, sorry. So to that point, I don't remember if it was Dan or whomever spoke to it, but negotiating moving forward with them to do we're not supposed to call it a pilot agreement, it has a different name. It was my understanding that, and I know this is in works, that part of that negotiations would actually include those cases. And so there may not be judgments regarding those cases.
That's litigation, and we shouldn't be discussing it in open session.
But could be is a fact.
Could be, yes.
Anything can be negotiated, except the decision from ATB.
All we're really here to deal is the three.
Right, but the problem here is that we moved $300,000 of levy into the overlay that now is locked up in overlay, and we're not supposed to pay the interest from overlay. And those decisions
no.
were made by this group based on the facts we had from the Board of Assessors at that time, which was that that would cover that. And now that money's in there, and it's, at least in terms of what is here now, it's excess. Because it would have been excess when we were going to special town meeting to put money in the overlay. We were considering it usable. So, and then if the Board of Assessors was willing to declare it surplus, it's going to end up in the general fund, and it's not going to be able to be allocated towards the interest needed right now anyway, is what I'm hearing.
Just to clarify, if they vote it surplus with no town meeting action to move it somewhere else, yes, it will, like any other free cash certification in the general fund, that's where it will end up.
Okay.
If they deem it surplus and you go to town meeting and ask the voters to move it, the voters have the authority to move it.
Before it's been certified as free cash?
Right.
Yes,
Okay. That's good to know.
Yes.
but I don't believe there's any surplus.
We can't get from $560,000 deficit in overlay when interest was in there to now we need to spend 740
Okay.
and not have $180,000 or
So if there-
$190,000 difference that's excess.
Yes, so, okay, so you and I
The math
are
is not
sort of
working.
talking about the same thing, but not really. So yes, you're right. If you take out what we have in the, if you don't use it as, if you don't put it in the overlay and have an overlay deficit, and you take it out and you use it as an interest line and pay it somewhere else, yes, there will be extra money in the overlay,
Right.
which then the assessors could declare as surplus. However, what I'm cautioning you is, before you do that, you have to get the okay from the DOR, and they're going to look at your 3 pending cases that you have.
I understand what you're saying, but in the OL1 for this year, we didn't put them in there.
Yes, we did. There's a $3 million mark.
Right, which included what we
No.
just paid. It was not the
Those,
future
those are
ones.
pending ATB cases. Those are the 3 cases that we have. Those were not the ones we received an award for.
Then where is that one? Where's the one we just paid? Because it's not an OL1 then.
It's not pending anymore. It was an award that we were obligated to pay. So
But the OL1 says pending ATB and court decisions.
we had already received the court decision. We did not put it in there. When
Okay.
that was
That
the
doesn't make
other
sense to
pending
me
cases.
based on it, but I'm not an expert, so maybe it doesn't belong in there.
So in the previous OL one, they had us put in $13 million in our pending cases for fiscal year '25. The OL one says 13 million. This year, because the other cases had been decided, we took out the 13 million and put in 3.
Okay. Like I said, I don't,
Yeah.
maybe I don't understand that because I don't do this every day. So maybe that, the way I read that one line, it's just a sentence, isn't correct. That's
Right.
fine. I think no matter what, I mean, there's a lot here and we're not going to figure it out for the STM tonight. So whether it's on the STM or it ends up being on the annual or wait until June, I guess, not that we can't continue this discussion later because we need to move back to the actual budget topics to get close to reasonably on time. But I also don't think we're going to get to an answer tonight on what we're doing, unless others think we do. But I'd say we'll at least table it until we get to the STM discussion from here. And we can come back to it at that point. Does that work? For everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So we'll come back to it after budget is done before we wrap up the joint tonight. Thank you.
I will stay.
Where did my calendar go? I believe planning is next, but my computer crashed while we were talking and I haven't pulled it back up.
Board, but she's gone.
Hmm?
It was the planning board, but she's cutting now.
I'm coming back.
Oh, it's the planning board. Okay, thank you. So like I said, mine crashed, so I haven't pulled
It's
back
all right,
up yet.
sorry. Okay, let me put my other
You're
hat
fine,
on.
You're fine.
Hi, I'm Jackie Boyd, and I'm Chair of the Planning Board. Does anybody have any
Thanks for
questions about the
returning.
narrative? Or the budget, which was level funded?
Questions, comments? No? Okay, thank you for coming back. Planning board to community planning office. Glenn, you're up.
Has everybody met Glenn yet?
I don't know, I think so, but if not, will you introduce yourself for the 10,000 viewers?
I'm Glenn Johnson. I'm the town planner. It was 1 year ago, almost a year ago tonight, that I was here for my interview for this position. So, thanks for hiring me.
Thanks for staying for a year.
Time flies when you're trying to figure out APBs.
Here's to many more. Questions or comments on the narrative? On the
No,
budget?
just- Wow, we got a lot going on.
I think that also speaks to part of what Mark Blatchley was also saying. You know, the planning board conversation was also brief, but a lot of that is working with Glenn to support both of those boards as well.
Through a lot of those projects.
Jake,
Yes.
I assume this is supposed to be Zelinski Field, not Zelensky. The spelling is incorrect if that's the actual Zelinski Field in Erving, if that's what that is. In the first highlights and challenges, halfway, 3/4 of the way down.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's all right.
Yep.
Get that corrected.
Mine just reopened, so I'm not quite there yet, but I'm glad they know what it is and they've got it.
Yeah, and Jackie always prefers if we use the whole name of the field. I don't remember it, the whole one, but yep.
Okay. Anything else on budget or narrative? All right. Give me 1 second. I finally got it pulled back up. No, I didn't have anything either. Thank you, Glenn.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
I mean, I know they're short, but to everyone, that's a job well done because they follow the guidance and explain things clearly. So to everyone who's had a quick sit up there tonight,
Gold stars all around.
it is great. It's not a bad thing.
There's Oprah.
onto IT. So I will recuse myself from this side of the table and switch to over there.
At 8:17.
Well, the IT department walks to their seat. Does the IT department not really have a name?
Was it not in the list?
It says department agency, choose an item.
We should choose an item.
Welcome, choose an item.
I'll have to go back to that drop down.
I get to pick, just make it up.
Oh, I could think of a couple other names for it.
Oh, whoa, whoa. You don't get to pick.
Okay. Wow. The chair has recused himself. Any questions or comments on the highlights and challenges or goals and initiatives?
Nope.
Nothing. Okay, moving on to then the budget. Yeah, looking at
So it looks like a reduction right now,
yeah.
but that's because of the special articles. So you have on the subsequent page, request to consider the computer replacements that we've been doing annually. And so that's the same dollar amount. We just didn't put it into the 900s, as you all haven't made your recommendations yet.
And there's no step or anything because there's no table for this position, and
Right.
the board has been reviewing the IT department
Right.
position and staffing, et cetera. So I'd put in the narrative that there, may be some changes there, but they're not there yet. Correct.
So, yeah, and to elaborate on those discussions and the concerns is when this current IT position situation was created by a previous board, I believe 2013.
2013.
I think we can all agree, without getting too granular, that the world of IT and its impacts on how we operate, not only in our daily lives, but in our municipal functions and our obligations, has changed dramatically. This position, as marked, hasn't grown commensurate with those, and we've made a lot of great changes despite limitations. I will speak personally, not for the entire board. My opinion is we are at risk in several ways if we don't address this sooner than later. Not to sound alarms, but to make you aware. The threat landscape with information security. I can remember when I first started in law enforcement, we were concerned about people breaking into the actual town hall and rifling through file cabinets. And we put the town hall on extra patrols. Well, those patrols are no longer needed in that way, but that information and how it's stored now is equally vulnerable, if not more so, because the attack vector doesn't have to come to 12 East Main Street. It could be in the mountains of Eastern Asia or some other bloc country. This is going to be a big thing, and it's why the board is considering it very seriously. As much as we're all trying to wrap our heads around how are we going to pay for these increases in insurance and everything else. this is one of those, one of Dan's favorite phrases, we're gonna pay now or we're gonna pay later. So in regard to the growth of this position, it's at least my opinion that we need to increase it to a minimum of 1 FTE with a person who has knowledge and background in both systems administration as well as network administration, familiarity with cyber and information security. Now, how we get there, we're not even close to, but and what it's going to cost us also. But it's another big nut to consider. And invite our IT systems person to elaborate on that if he cares to, or Bill, you have any other?
If I could, I'm going to recuse myself from the conversation.
8:23.
Thank you.
Yep.
I would just add that what's already been said by Jim is when IT first started, it isn't what it is today. We have come so far, and technology-wise and program-wise, and providing security and safeguards for the Erving Elementary School, and a host of other areas that may be under attack by unscrupulous people who are out there testing all the systems on a constant basis. And that includes our water supply, it includes very sensitive areas of the town that we need to protect. Up to this point, we've been trying to do all of this work with one person in a part-time position, less than 20 hours a week, while doing several other jobs within town, as well as being the chair of the select board. It's just not possible to continue in that vein. And so ultimately, and we're working on this, and it will happen, it needs to happen. We do need a full-time person in the IT position, someone who understands all the areas that Jim just mentioned: cybersecurity, technology, how to improve it, how to fix it, program software analysis, continuous safety for school system, water supply, and any areas that are vulnerable to those folks that on a daily basis, 24 hours a day, are trying to get into the system and break it down or take whatever they can. And this is as serious as the issues of healthcare and the other topics that we have to discuss and are discussing tonight. And with having said that, we hope to have a full-time IT person on. I would hope by, at least we'd like to have that person on by annual town meeting or shortly thereafter. And without a doubt, like everything else today, we're going to have to pay for it. And that's a discussion for annual town meeting on the floor. And you'll hear more of the same that we've talked about, Jim and I have talked about, as well as the chair. And yeah, that's it.
The only thing I would add is that trying to do what Bill just said in the current fiscal year, isn't, the budget doesn't sustain that for the current year. If there's a change. And some of the things that, have been more recent but are more and more common, our insurance requires certain security implementations and certifying those every year, continuing to increase those to carry like a ransomware insurance levels and certain things like that we have. So to have those protect us should something happen that we weren't able to avoid does require continuing to invest in and increase our security level and what we're doing. Lots of stuff across public safety that we're doing as well, and in all areas of town. It's quite a different landscape than server at town hall and a handful of computers there and a few other places to where we are today. I mean, the broadcast isn't an IT piece per se, but we're doing this live and the devices everybody has and et cetera. So it's quite a difference than it used to be.
Any questions or any other commentary to add or considerations you'd like us to bring into our future conversations in the next months?
I just like to say that over time, some things don't change. They become more technical, but they don't change. As Harry Truman said, there's no money in politics unless you're a crook. Well, the crook said, oh, there's money in politics? Well, wouldn't occur to most of us that way, but it does. Things are technical, and we get great benefits from this technical stuff, but with it comes great risk. And the risk isn't going to get better over time. And the crooks are going to be using the artificial intelligence to find better ways to be crooks. So if we don't prepare ahead and make sure that the bank door is locked when we leave, they're going to get in. So whatever it might cost you to protect what you have is small compared to what you could lose if you don't protect it. Just my thoughts.
Thank you for that.
And the capital articles, I have the 35,000 is continuing to do replacement. I did project that out over the next 5 years, and I did an escalator for years 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Just costs are not going down, and a lot of technology cost is going up with the AI demand and just the whole global economic climate right now. It just continues to raise the costs of technology components. So. Held it the same for this year, but in the coming years have added a little bit of escalation. And then the second capital project, continuing the security project that we started in 2 fiscal years ago for school and police, enhancing the security and modernizing it there. Working with the select board, they identified the site for this project, which would be the town hall. Potentially the fire station if there's an economy, and depending on where the costs come in, because they're side by side, as well as some coverage of the park right there. We did the security walkthrough today, so we should have more concrete numbers within the next 2 weeks on those sites beyond the placeholder that we put in.
Anything else before? This one was a little bit longer, but not because we weren't prepared to discuss it. We didn't have the numbers there. Hearing nothing, we'll move on and
thank you.
Invite the chair to rejoin.
Thank you.
Do I have to?
Yes.
All right, I guess I'm back.
And I apologize.
It's okay.
Can I make a friendly request? Trying to keep you all on your 2-hour schedule to be out of here by 9 o'clock. I know we still have a couple budgets left. They're all ones that I need to answer for. STM, and Glenn and I wanted to quickly talk about the IP mill with you all. So would it be possible to visit the STM conversation and the IP mill and maximize that time, get these folks out of here, and then if you want to sit and talk to me about these budgets, otherwise we can hold them for a future meeting. I know there's some from the last meeting that you passed over and said we'd bring back that I was responsible for, so.
That doesn't
Reasonable.
sound like Brian gets his own night.
So I didn't feel that way.
It's like every night. Does that work for everyone?
Yeah,
Yep.
makes
Okay.
sense.
Okay. Did
Maybe
you have a preference?
refreshments at Brian night?
Linda? Refreshments?
Not tonight, but next time,
Yeah.
absolutely.
For Brian's
On
meeting?
Brian night? Jeez.
Come to
Gonna
the
name them.
capital meetings. Linda always cooks for us.
That's true. That's true. There's always cookies.
So, which one did you want to do first?
You had started to talk STM. Do you want to finish that conversation?
You had the request, so I was offering you the
STM.
option on which one to
Let's
go
rip
to.
the Band-Aid off.
All
Finish
right.
it and be done.
Doesn't that mean Glenn has to stay with us?
No, because we've had most of the conversation. This is going to go very quickly.
On the STM?
Yes.
Oh, Brian.
You said it.
You know better
said
than
it.
to say things like that.
Optimistic.
I didn't say it. He said it.
This is going to go well.
All right. So we're going to pause general government budget discussion and move to review of the draft special town meeting warrant.
Do you want me to go through the highlights of the changes I was making, and then we'll return to the assessor's article? So there's an open question about whether or not the February 19th date is going to remain realistic. If we don't finish it this week, it's no longer realistic. So the select board has proposed maybe March 2nd, which is a Monday, as a potential backup date for that STM. I've spoken to council. Council's available. I've spoken to town clerk. He's available. Select board will be present, so I know they're available. And you all were holding those as joint meeting potential dates anyhow to finalize the budget and start the annual town meeting conversation. So, I don't know if that sounds reasonable.
Any concerns? So
Yep.
tentatively, we'll
Yep.
move it to that.
Okay.
Okay.
Article 1 is the bills of a prior year article. One more was brought to my attention, so I've made that adjustments for the water department. And I need to just verify with the town accountant, but I spoke to the highway superintendent today, and he let me know that actually, though I had it as a bill of a prior year, the Rose Ledge bill has been taken care of, so I just need to verify that. So that potentially could be coming off. But those are the only changes I have there.
If anybody has questions as Brian goes through, just speak up.
On Article 2, 3, and 4, none of those have changes, and those were all requests from Capital Planning Committee, closing out special articles, returning them back to stabilization. So no changes. Now we are to the conversation we were just having, which is Article 5. I originally had drafted an article that was proposing to transfer from available free cash funds to the assessor's overlay account. As you all discussed earlier, the amount was in the $560,000 range. Given the guidance that we received from DOR and the journal entry I had the town accountant make last week, because of that guidance, I have altered it to propose that we would transfer $742,482 from certified free cash to the assessor's expenditure line items to satisfy this expense that was not budgeted for. And that was the conversation you all were having with Diane and Jackie.
Brian, will you remind us what was free cash certified at? Just a
That is a fantastic question, and it just so happens that I've got the gateway open, so give me 1 second. Free cash. Free cash. $1,400,316.
It was 1400316.
That is correct.
and capital stabilization. Do you have that handy?
That's not going to be there. Stand by.
The 1898, 197, I believe.
Is that from the most recent Bartholomew report?
I don't know. So
Well, that's not
Well,
very
then-
helpful.
I said maybe. I
It's
don't
a
know.
great number.
I threw it out there.
Pretty much.
Tell me I'm wrong or right. I don't know for sure.
Jake's wish list.
Oh, if it's a wish list, we'll make it 13 or something.
It's 13, we don't have a problem, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, right.
I don't have the Bartholomew pages with me from the most recent quarter.
Okay.
Those are back in my office, but I can send them to you.
Okay.
What's the most recent number you do have?
Is it saying, can you ballpark it?
Let me ballpark it.
Isn't that
Stand
what
by.
Jake just did? Isn't that what you just did?
No, because it might only be $1 million or less.
Yeah, because I thought we had.
According to Debbie, this would have been as June 30. Instead of turning my head like that, I should probably just turn the page. Specifically capital. As of June 30, it was $1,089,000. You were correct.
1 million.
Actually,
no.
take that back.
Say 1,089,000 or 1,898,000.
That was right. That was designated for expenditure. The full balance. The full balance listed as $1,648,112. Then there's a subline to that that has what's broken out and designated for expenditure.
So basically, like around 1.6 ish.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is again. This is as of June 30.
Yep, that's fine. Just So I guess my question would be, is there a reason why we would pull from free cash rather than the stabilization account? The general stabilization account, I want to be very clear on that.
Preference.
Okay.
The only difference for general stabilization will be a higher vote threshold,
Yep.
but that's not a reason not to take it from there. So if that's what you wanted, I just need to rework the article and change the vote threshold.
Well, I'm trying to think of things in my head that I know have been committed to already. So a fire truck for 400, if that in theory was coming from, at least in the past couple of years, we have taken what is available for free cash, moved it to capital stabilization, and then tried to fund as much of the capital projects out of that as we can. So we're already $400,000 for a fire truck. 420. And then, I mean, capital has not made their final recommendations, but there is a considerable amount of capital for this year. And I know for some projects, they have been asked for projects to be funded in full, such as our cemetery. Historically, for projects, Erving is not a community that tends to borrow a whole heck of a lot. We have in the past, but usually when we've asked Jen to run numbers for us, borrowing actually ends up being a much more costly option. So I just I guess kind of want to put that out there as, because so much of capital was taken out of raise and appropriate, we've kind of been trying to claw it back year by year, and the way we've done that is free cash. So if we are taking, I'm just going to say $700,000 to, for that, then that's less available for capital.
Your general stabilization fund balance as of June 30 was $12,782,659. So you certainly have sufficient funding there.
Thoughts on that?
Seems to me that in general, previous boards, and I think these boards too, have looked at general stabilization as kind of an unexpected one-of kind of thing, not to fund an ongoing budget, and which this interest stuff that we're talking about is we hope.
A one-off, right?
A one-of, or close to it.
Okay.
It seems like it would fit the bill for that, just from my point of view, though
Right.
it does have the 2/3 threshold, and hope people would see the wisdom of doing that. So we have regular free cash to fund the other projects that we have to do. I mean, you have to have a cemetery. You can't just say, no, I guess we won't. You have to do those things.
So, I'm in line with Deb's thoughts on that. I would be more in favor of paying than financing. Don't tell my boss I said that. And whether we meet a majority threshold or a 2/3 threshold, as much as I don't want to tell our taxpayers we're on the hook for this. I think it makes sense as a one-time to go that way. The only thing I'd ask or add is, we had the discussion earlier, rather than have it go into the overlays, to designate that treasurer's line and have it paid out of there. And
That's what DOR recommended.
You said versus overlay.
well, this
do you mean
the current
assessor's interest?
article is asking for an appropriation to the assessor's overlay, and I'm recommending DOR's preference to have it go into a treasurer's line and have it paid out of there.
Okay. I thought they said they didn't care, and I think you're looking at the strike. It's actually moving to their operating budget line because the interest is an operating expense. Because it's been
That's what
moved
I
to an
proposed,
operating expense
yeah.
already. So it's not overlay. Overlay is crossed out. It's actually operating budget now.
Okay, I just looked
But,
at the
yeah.
headline, but
Oh,
need
the
to- I
headline's
need to fix the
wrong.
headline, I'm
You're
sorry.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, okay, I missed
Good
that.
catch.
again, just yielding to the DOR. I don't have an appetite for picking a fight with them or asking for additional scrutiny moving forward.
Brent, is there a reason why they say, I guess to me, I'm so used to, we have an expense, so it's the assessor's expense, it would be credited to the assessor's office or the assessing department. So it feels odd to me that we would have an expense kind of generated in one place, but we're gonna,
I challenged them on that with Diane this morning because that doesn't make sense to me.
Okay.
I think they look at us, we think of things in departments.
yeah.
They look at us as one organization. So I think
Okay.
from that standpoint, they feel like the processing of payments and handling bank interest and things of that financing typically happens in the treasurer's office. I think that's the justification.
Okay.
I push back and just say, one, there's no way that the treasurer's office would have any comprehension about what an anticipated liability like that would look like. And they may not be privy to strategy and some of the other conversations that are happening. So how could they even fathom what needs to happen? And that really is something the assessors would know much better, even though they couldn't anticipate necessarily this. So I do think it makes sense to keep it in the assessing office. At the end of the day, they don't particularly care what department we attribute it to,
Okay.
but it should be in the 100s. It should be in the general government budget.
Okay.
So if I understood, general government and expense line.
In an expense line. And
Other
I
than that,
did differ. I asked the town accountant, you know how she loves making new GL codes for us. I asked her to differentiate the GL codes from our typical interest expenditure accounts like we pay on our loan service from this. It is distinct. So we can run those reports, and this won't get sucked into a report that says this is how much we're spending on interest every year for our debt service.
Okay.
so it sounds like everybody's in agreement, as long as you're not concerned, as long as they were okay with it, where it's
Mhm.
in, that we would want to fund this out of general stabilization.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I'm in agreement with
Okay.
that
All
as
right.
well.
so fix that article. Thank you.
And then just to wrap the other part of the conversation up, before we move on from this one, I know I brought up that we moved the levy excess into the overlay. And so now there's some money that we at least thought we were going to attribute towards this interest expense in there. Is there any interest in doing anything or asking to do anything with that? Or do we want to just leave it there and fund this fully from general stabilization? Or do we want to explore any of that further or just leave it?
Just say, yeah, I'm going to remember the conversations we had tonight, and I am very mindful of we're not done yet. So I would say leave it there and know its purpose is to prepare for whatever else is coming in the future, pending negotiations or the outcome of litigation or anything else. That's what that money's designated for, and will be a primary resource should it need to be accessed in the future.
Agreed.
Finance?
I think I would still like an understanding of exactly what is in the overlay account right now, especially if that big lump sum payment has been made. And maybe it's as simple as an email from Diane or Jackie just saying, like, this is how the numbers, so many numbers have been thrown around and they've all been different. Just a very clear, final understanding of this is what was in the overlay, this is what we did, this is the official balance of the overlay moving forward. And just so everyone is on the same page with what that account looks like. It is not an account that is usually discussed during budget season. It's always been an account that's really flown under the radar. So to just know that this is, and then to Jim's point, that money was put there with a very specific intended purpose. And so if the time comes, that money is there to be used for that purpose. And whether it's coming from that account or transferred to another account, that was the intent of that funds.
I can run a balance report for the overlay, and
Okay.
then I can work with Diane and Jackie.
Okay, thank you.
We're in total agreement with that, Deb, and then we'll check with Deb Merrill because there's always a little bit of a delay, but we can pinpoint how much we spent in exemptions to this point, and then after we do our abatements, how much will be in there, and then what the balance will be basically after April 1st, because that's the deadline for exemptions
Okay,
and
that'd be great.
abatements.
Excellent, thank you. All right,
So I'll fix that for your next review.
okay.
Then you have the health insurance article. No changes to that. I still need to get a little more clarity on the enterprise fund, so I'll do that for your next review.
Are we good with that one from free cash
Oh, yeah.
for now?
Question.
I mean, or I shouldn't say for now. Are we good with that one from free cash?
I thought that's what we'd already discussed.
It is, I'm
Okay.
just, we're taking another look at all of the costs and all the money and what we have, so I just, again, that's gonna be a continuing problem cost, so I'm into the idea it's not a one-off, so. Okay.
You have a new Article 7, and that is related to your request to consider the TASER project. Capital brought that to you after the police department presentation. And my recollection was that you talked about including an article that would be for all 30,000 up front and the source out of capital stabilization.
We need to add 1,856.40 to it.
So before you do that, I spoke with Chief after he sent out the information that we had asked for, and discussed a little bit of kind of, I think maybe you brought it up, Thomas, about if they're at least recommended or should be replaced every 5 years. They offer a 5-year payment program. Should we instead look at this and move it into operational expense? And then there's just money in the operating budget every year for the 5 years. And then on the 6th year, if we want to buy new and start that again, we've already kind of set the standard operating costs to have a budget line for close to, maybe there'll be a little more, a little less, whatever, but, or, in 5 years, we'll be thinking about this as another one-time investment. And I don't know, but I wanted to bring that up. Chief said, right now he believes, based on, projecting out where things will be, that he could cover the first payment if we're doing the 5-year, because they don't charge you any interest on spreading it over 5 years because we're a small department. He could afford that out of his operating budget for this year. So then he would just be looking for that support in the operating budget beginning in 27. I think it was about just over 5,000 annually. So that's just in my discussions with him. I wanted to bring that to everyone as the other way we could go with this.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would come off of this and he could proceed with the purchase right away, pending the board's approval.
I mean, if there's no interest, why wouldn't we do that?
Well, that's another reason. I mean, if you're not paying any interest,
Yeah.
why would you pay now and not pay later? So there's that side of it too. And I think all the financial people sitting here are going to tell me that's the best choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Money's not worth more later.
No. Keep the money in our accounts and make some yield on it.
So the proposal would be to scrap the new article and instead amend the operating budget.
427, the request to add it in.
The only question would be is, do we have anything else? Like, we've been trying to be really good about pulling things out from operating and capital and really making a clear cut, this is this. I understand what you're saying about operating expenses. To me, it does feel a little bit more capital. I get the whole prospect of the putting it into the operating budget and paying it out over the length of time. I just wonder, or is there anything else that is similar to this that we've done that with? Is it their firearms? Is it their vests? Do we do a similar thing
cameras.
with
The body cameras and the cruiser cameras, we did the same.
Okay.
We did a 5-year.
I think it's 15 something a year or something
Yeah.
like that.
And
It
we
was
move that into operational costs? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we might have done capital for the first year to start it,
Right.
to fund the first payment, because there was some upfront of like another 10 with installation or something.
Okay.
So is that the direction everybody wants to go? Switch to operational expense?
Yeah.
So take it back out.
Sorry.
Thanks for putting it in. It brought the
They're
discussion.
my favorite groups. We got this. All right, so I'm striking the new Article 7.
Yes.
Got
Yes. And to the board, I mean, do you guys want to see that TASER quote on the next meeting to approve it?
So that you can proceed.
Yeah.
Taser,
Please.
next agenda. Got it.
Okay. And so we'll add that to the police department FY27 request. We'll add expense for that as well.
Got it.
Okay. So then Article 7 still?
I have not changed this. I spoke with council today. He wants me just to run it past MSBA one more time. He just offered to us that we can make this smaller if you want to save yourselves some ink. this reads a little bit differently than some of your motions. Other towns actually include the article and a draft motion that people can read on the floor. You all typically read your motions or make your motions as read or as presented. And you put a lot of detail in your warrant about what the purpose of the article and what it's for. So council's suggestion is we may not need that motion in order, even though MSBA presented it to us, as they would like it that way. So you could just do the top part of the article and not everything from the motion on. I don't care one way or the other, because this is really to make sure that we've checked every box that MSBA wants so that they accept us into this program without any conditions. This is their language. You've already appropriated the money, and I clarified that for council. This really is a formality. This is not asking for new funds. So if MSBA likes this language, I don't see any reason to ask them to change it. But if you would like it to be more condensed, council thinks I could raise that with them.
I'm gonna say let's not borrow trouble. If MSBA
Let's
gave us the
leave it.
language, let's just stick with their language.
That's how I felt about it. Okay. But I will just run it past them one more time, because I'd hate to get us all the way through town meeting and then have them say, actually, we would like one more comma or something else. So I'm just going to verify that.
Whereas.
Whereas.
Shall.
There'll be a
We'll give
shall or a
shall or
whereas that I've
whereas.
missed. So I'm going to double check it with them.
Never gonna live down shall.
The last one was the bylaw amendment, and of all the articles, if you thought the assessing conversation was a long one, I'm getting more feedback and issues on the proposed bylaw that the school committee requested to the representatives. So after you all started reviewing the request, there was a outreach to the Franklin County School Committee to ask them for a copy of the founding agreement that created the technical school. And in that language, it identifies the town moderator of the towns to appoint those representatives. So the language you're seeing strikes all the Franklin County Technical School references because of that agreement. Subsequently, I've talked to council. Council has said school committee members really should be elected. The idea that any of them are being appointed is curious to him. And so I had to explain there's this agreement from the 70s for the technical school and the very unique tuition arrangement that you have with Gail Montague, where you pay tuition, you have 3 seats, they're non-voting members, and you're not really formally part of the district. So he raised that because there's some provisions in Chapter 71 of the Mass General Laws that deal with school committee members that he wants to just run to ground and make sure that we're not going to, if, say this is approved at town meeting, it goes to the Attorney General's office, that we're not going to run into any delays or challenges there if we could do additional research up front. So though we are not a party to the district agreement, I'm going to see if I can try to find the Gail Montague district agreement, and then also provide a copy of the tuition agreement you have from the 90s or early 80s for them to see if they can find the language that they're looking for. So this may be something that is advisable to hold on. I know we were trying to do this for the special for the school committee, but it may make sense just to hold this into the annual, just to give us a little more time to find those documents.
I was just gonna ask you that. It sounds like some further research might be needed.
Yeah. Is that okay?
Let's table it for that.
And I'll
Kids are
relay
still
back
gonna
to the
get
school
their
committee.
education.
This will not have any effect on their education. So I will pull this in this draft and just let the school committee chair know that we're holding this for further review. Okay. And that's all I had for tonight.
So I have one more.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
That's fine. Which is something that I know we've discussed off and on and brought before, but after discussion tonight with the treasurer, and I spoke with her before the meeting, we've talked about moving some of the key positions that are elected and thinking that they may warrant being appointed so that we can ensure that we have someone brings the necessary skills and background experience, et cetera, to ensure business continuity here. Treasurer being one of them. We know she's not going to run again, and she is full in support of moving it to appointed, and has been a conversation in the past. So, and it's not for herself, because she's not taking that, she's not staying out. So, is there any appetite to bring that back to the voters And if so, is there any appetite to bring it back in the special? The special is enough days prior to the annual, because there is language about it.
By 2.
By 2 on
Yes.
May 2nd. I mean, March 2nd, sorry.
March 2nd
Is 2
for
days.
the May 4th election. Yes.
Right. It gives us a 2-day buffer to the requirement, because there's a minimum time before the annual that you're allowed to have a special to do that. And then there's some questions that I don't think we have the answers yet to about when, if it can be on the annual election and all of that, but, or if
Right.
we have to have a special election still.
Oh, it can be on the annual election.
Can be?
Yes.
Okay, you did get that, okay.
Yes.
All right. And my understanding, though I'd probably run it by him again, is if we had this on the special, it passed. We put it on the annual ballot, it passed. And the incumbent was not running.
Correct.
That even if someone was elected, they would only serve until the board had a candidate to appoint. They would not serve the balance of their term. Or if we had someone to appoint prior to July 1 when they would start, they just would not start unless it was that person that we were appointing. If there's an incumbent, they serve the rest of their term before the appointment would happen, so. And I know that's a lot to maybe digest in a moment, so, we're not going to finalize the warrant tonight, but I wanted to bring it up to everybody.
Sounds like a good idea. Like the time.
Is that something, Brian, that can be on my agenda for tomorrow night? We have that little paragraph, things on,
Because it was raised today. Yeah.
is that something that we could discuss tomorrow night? Because the Finance Committee is meeting tomorrow night.
Okay.
Do you have the STM on your agenda by chance? Probably not.
No, because we usually vote it here.
Yeah,
So we
okay.
usually vote it as a joint. And I'm assuming, I've not heard from everyone, I'm assuming you're all coming?
Yep.
Okay.
Check, double check.
Check, double check. So I think the Finance Committee can talk about it tomorrow night and then come back with an answer for the board, if that's okay.
When do we need to finalize this for with our new amended date?
If you do March 2nd, I will need you to approve it next week.
Next Monday?
Ideally next Monday. Next Monday would be ideal, but you could do it later in the week if you needed like one more quick meeting just to approve it, the warrant.
Can I ask, do we know when there was a previous time the voters were asked, or were they asked previously, did they want to have elected or appointed? Seems like it had come up sometimes in the past.
It was when Margaret Sullivan left.
It was like her last term, or her last year as the treasurer, right? I believe.
Yeah.
Maybe like must have been 2014, 2015. It was before I got here, but I do recall people talking about it.
I was going to say, I think it's been a decade.
Okay, about 10 years. Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, I asked because sometimes voters get upset. Say, well, we told you, but yeah, you told us 10 years ago things have changed in 10 years.
Right.
Yeah.
If
I was sitting at the table, I'm just not sure which table, but it was very early.
If I remember correctly, it was the Board of Selectmen had begun discussing it and were trying to come up with like kind of a plan of how to approach it. I don't know why I remember this, but I do. And Margaret instead did it via, I believe, a citizen's petition to have it on at the meeting.
Interesting.
I think you're correct. I do recall a petition. And in general, I've typically been, over the years, very much in favor of letting the voters decide who they want to run the town. On the other hand, things have changed in 10, 20, 30 years that people can't just walk in off the street and pick up some of this stuff. You really need qualified people. It's so technical today that you may find somebody elected that knows how to do what needs to be done. We also may find somebody that, we got a bunch of good friends, let's go elect, Joe, Sally, or whoever it is, and they haven't a clue how to get this stuff done. So there's, to me now, at this point, there's wisdom to at least suggesting maybe this should be appointed.
And there's some documents from the Department of Revenue on best practices, and they have recommended for well over a decade that towns that still have elected at least treasurers, but also tax collectors, that they consider moving in this direction. Just because of the technical ability, the certification requirements. There's a lot more specifically on treasurers in terms of benefits administration and some of the other pieces that I don't know what that looked like 20, 30 years ago, to your point, but it's quite technical now. And there's a lot that can go wrong between election cycles.
Very true, and I don't have many more comments on it, but on this one, people do still have control.
Yeah.
Whether it's an appointed or elected, money doesn't get spent unless people vote to spend
That's
the money.
correct. That is
And
correct.
that's what's on most people's mind.
That's correct.
I mean, and if someone is appointed and they have a horrible personality, nobody can stand, there's ways to appoint somebody else sometime along the line. Somebody that doesn't have to stay appointed forever. Yeah.
That's true.
It's probably at least easier to handle someone who doesn't have the qualifications or is unable to perform the job successfully than elected. It's a bit harder.
Right.
Bonding, et cetera, I mean, is required, but if you were elected and you couldn't be bonded, that puts us in a position on how do you undo that. It's not simple.
Right.
So, sounds like tentatively there are people in favor. We'll wait to hear back from finance.
Okay.
I would say my question would be, does the finance committee want to let us know that after their meeting and not meet again on this? Because meeting again on this would be Monday, the 9th. Or would you like to just have a short joint meeting to finish up the STM on the 9th?
Do we not have a joint meeting next Monday? I thought we did.
We originally, you and I thought we didn't. We need to talk about the schedule. You have education on the 9th.
That's what I thought.
This was your business night, and we had to repurpose it after the snowstorm.
Right.
That's what
So
I
we're
thought
gonna
too.
be here anyway, so. Yes, what I will do,
All
our
right.
meeting is tomorrow night. Are you joining us for our meeting?
I will
Okay.
see you.
So I will email the board, I'll say by Thursday,
Yep.
with what we have discussed, and if we make a motion or a vote, I'll let you guys know that. But yeah, we're gonna be here Monday night anyway, so.
That's fine. Then we'll do it then, because I was going to ask you if you didn't, then do you want to endorse articles tonight? But
Yeah.
that's fine. We'll do it
Okay.
on the 9th.
So I'll draft all of that, but I'll meet with you all tomorrow.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay.
Could I add one
Yes, sir.
suggestion? We don't know how the town is going to go, whether
Of course.
the treasurer's position remains elected or which could happen, or they give us the approval to appoint. If it does remain elected, we should consider a recall authority for that position.
So you,
I think around the
as a
same, a
means,
similar time
right.
to the petition
Right.
for the treasurer changing, there was a petition for a recall article,
Yeah.
and we
and
got
it
that
passed.
Did it?
Because we have recall in the books now, right? I
Yes.
believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it did pass. I think there was some,
There was some
Slight-
delays getting the special legislation through,
Okay.
but we did get it through before that legislative cycle expired.
Oh, okay.
And so it is on our
good.
books.
It did hold, yeah.
To date, nobody has used it. So we
Hopefully
have
we'll
not
never have to.
really gone through the exercise yet. But yes, that did make it through.
Okay.
Yep.
I would agree with you if it wasn't there. Okay. Good on STM.
Yes.
On to,
Are you all willing to give 10 more minutes? I know we're over schedule, and Glenn's been kind enough to wait. 10 minutes, okay? Okay.
review of the report regarding the former International Paper Mill site. Come on up, Glenn. Or back up.
I saw a fist bump.
What's that?
I said I saw a fist bump when you were on your way up, so this is good, right?
That's right.
So you should all have a memo from R&D Consultants. And just for real quick context, you all, about a year and a half ago, came up with your proposed selective demolition plan for the IP mill. We sent that proposal to Mass Development, and they said, pause. We're going to instead award you a $50,000 grant loan, and you're going to use it to have a consultant work to study all the options, do a market analysis, and come back to all of us with a recommendation before we'll proceed. So we went down that road. The board approved the grant that came from Mass Development. Mass Development engaged the consultant for us and selected R&D consultants. Glenn and I have been working with them, I want to say since May or June. It's been most of the year.
Yep. That sounds right.
And so you have in front of you the final memo on task 4, so they broke their work up into 4 segments. This really is a summary of all of that work, and it refers back to earlier memos. If anybody wants to review any of those detailed memos, we can provide that. But this really does summarize all of their findings. They're not going to give us a specific do this recommendation, but they give you a decision matrix and their approach to assessing what they believe is a more advantageous path. It really is for you all to make a decision. But I think as you go through this analysis, you'll come to see that they were really leaning more towards a reuse that incorporated some selective demolition while also trying to maintain the most significant historic structures on the property. We did multiple interviews with potential developers who have shown interest in the property in the past. They were willing to come back and participate in a stakeholder interview process. And across the board, they were primarily interested in the property if historic tax credits were on the table to help with the redevelopment of the site. Demolition of the structures that would have allowed them to access those credits would serve as a deterrent. They weren't looking for a clean slate site. And I know we've had a lot of that conversation in the past. And so that takeaway from those stakeholder engagement sessions led Epsilon to do, or led Mass Development with R&D to do one more engagement that was with Epsilon and Associates. They are a firm that consults on projects like historic tax credit applications. And so we traipsed around the mill for 2 hours, documented every nook and cranny of that facility, and there is a detailed section in this memo that talks about what they believe to be the historic structures. And unfortunately, they would suggest that we need to maintain more than I think anybody in the room wanted to maintain of the facility. Specifically Building 2, which we all have talked about, preserving the tallest, oldest structure on the property. But they would also include Building 4, which is the connector to Buildings 5 and 6. 5 and 6 are the ones with the smokestack and some of the degraded sections of the building. I think we had all anticipated that we would be looking to remove from the site. Those have been determined to be key structures for an application for historic preservation. I see the look, I get it.
Can I ask if I understand
Yeah.
correctly?
Mm-hmm.
We thought it'd be a good idea to tear most of it down. And
Yes.
these consultants have, and the people who might do something down there can access funds if these consultants have said more of this is historic, you can get historic restoration funds. If they're still there, you can't get them if they're gone.
That's correct.
So these people don't want to invest if they're gone. They
Correct.
may or may not want to invest, but they don't want to invest if they're gone.
It would change their interest in the property, correct.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
That doesn't mean to say that there's not another stakeholder that may come out of the woodwork to say, well, now that there's a clean site here, I've never stated my interest before, but now I'm interested because there's a clean site. That's possible. The issue is always going to be, and we keep hitting this moment, where there is going to be a risk assessment that we have to do. There's no perfect matrix, and we are going to have to take some action, and there's a risk that we make the right choice and we end up with an outcome that leads you to a redeveloped site. And we've been having this conversation for probably 5-6 years now, right? This has not been easy. I think this is the clearest sort of decision tree that we found from stakeholders who, again, they've moved on to other projects. It's not that they're no longer interested in our site, but they're not sitting here waiting for us. They have moved on, they're working on other projects. They very well may be interested, but there's others who may also be interested, and if they're interested, it's because some of these larger investment strategies that maybe we're not as accustomed to working in are on the table. Decisions that we make could enhance that or could take some of those opportunities off the table. I do think that the memo also addresses Mass Development's position. Part of their hesitation from our selective demolition proposal that we did a year and a half ago was that we worked really hard to maximize that $600,000 grant. I don't want to put words in their mouth, but I do think that there was a disappointment. Maybe that's not the right word. That there wasn't a local match or a local appropriation. So I think that there's an open question from Mass Development. They view us as partners. They are good partners. They want us this to continue to be a partnership. But I think there's an open question to the town's commitment to doing the selective demolition, knowing that $600,000 is not enough to do it. Is that fair?
Yep.
I guess I would ask, how do we find out, if we took their plan for selective demolition, how would we determine what the cost of that selective demolition would be? Because I know when we've talked about it before, one of the massive stumbling blocks we've always talked about is when you lose that very front building, you now have that big gaping hole in the bottom of building 2, and how do you secure it?
Yes.
So I guess my question would be is how do we get that information, frankly, for as little money as possible? So like, I feel like we have, this is fantastic, and I feel like it gives us a really good place to start. But now I feel like we need to know the numbers behind that potential place to start.
We had engaged Time Bond on your selective demolition options in the past. If you're willing to explore sort of the most advantageous, I don't know if that's the right word right now, but that's what I'm settling on. The most advantageous path here, we could go back to Time Bond and ask them if they could help us refresh the numbers with this concept in place. If the goal is to try to preserve what has been identified as the historic mill structure. I also want to make clear, this has not been an application to National Park Service. There's no protection on this property. We have not done any of that. This is just identifying buildings that they say would be eligible from their experience. But we could go to Time Bond, ask for that updated plan, and bring those costs back to you.
So do we as a community have to have the building declared as a historical?
That's a fantastic question. We had a lot of debate about what's the right sequence.
Yeah.
And whether or not we should be the ones to do it, or whether or not we should identify that we've done all this analysis and we've worked to preserve it and allow whoever the developer on the property to be the applicant for that. And there's some pros and cons that, again, are probably more nuanced than I would even pretend to understand.
Yeah.
But there was a pretty healthy discussion with Epsilon about whether or not the town should be seeking it. And I think it was, again, please correct me if you heard differently, it was more in the camp that Epsilon was saying that this is probably something that a developer would do, or maybe a team of developers if there was somebody managing the project for a few firms, but the town would be the partner on it, because we'd be basically handing over the project and the work to date that got us to that point.
Okay.
Does that sound fair?
Yeah, the only thing I would add is I think that there's both advantages and risks in terms of applying for historic designations, in terms of whether more is declared historic than you would prefer. Right. In other words, so it might be better to kind of go with figuring out what you want to demolish first and then apply for the historic tax credits later.
Right.
Because then there's no concern that they're carving it up differently because you've already done it.
Right.
And then did you say National Park Service is
Yes,
who you apply to?
That's who oversees historic properties. We could have a discussion offline about
I didn't want to bring up trauma.
So then I guess my concern would be if let's just say hypothetically, totally hypothetically, we moved forward with selective demolition.
Yes.
We had a developer that came in and said, now that you've done this, we'd like to partner with you all.
Yes.
Is there a risk that when they go to apply for these credits, that National Park Service comes back, and I can already see people nodding, and says, nope, sorry, it's not really historical, and then everything falls apart?
Is there always a chance that the federal agency that's going to review the application, and this has to go through the state as well, so there's a state and a federal level. At every one of those checkpoints, is there possibly something that they're going to come back and say they view this slightly different? I'm sure there's some of that, and I know you know this in great detail. With that being said, Epsilon is one of the best known firms
Okay.
that consults on these projects and helps developers with these applications.
Yeah.
So to R&D and Mass Development's credit, they really did identify one of the best to advise us on this. And so again, this was not an application, but I think I trust their guidance on this
Okay.
piece. But again, the question really is to us: do we, as a town trying to manage and shepherd this property into redevelopment, do we see that as important as the stakeholders that we talked to throughout this process conveyed?
I think with $600,000 behind it, it's going to depend on how much we'd have to match to have some success, for me, some success in doing selective demo and shoring whatever was demoed.
Right.
So, you know, if that's 800,000 to do a section, that makes sense. And so we're potentially recommending to put up 2.
Right.
It's a lot different than if it's 1.2.
Largely what
And
you'd
we're
be
talking about that
what you
to
would be-
get anywhere.
What you would be taking down are a lot of the lean-to structures around the property that we already knew had to come down. The steel buildings would be coming down. There's 3 of those. And then you have building 1, which is that E-shaped
Yeah, it's the front.
1960s,
Nobody likes
right? So when that comes down, and that is going to be very hard to remove, that will leave a hole. But what I would offer is that the other spaces are not going to need a lot of securing. There's the passageways for those spaces are much smaller. Building 1's removal is the challenge. So in some ways, it's going to be easier to secure the back buildings. You do have the
Except for
degradation.
falling apart.
5 and
sorry.
6
Okay.
are our challenges. 4 is actually quite sturdy.
Sorry,
We
wrong
just
one.
didn't think 4 was necessary. 5 and 6 has a lot of degradation that we'd have to look into.
Yeah.
But 1 is your challenge.
And I assume if, you said tie and bond, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I assume if we were to work with tie and bond on this, the challenges that we have with buildings 5 and 6 would also be factored in to what
Yes.
that could potentially cost for selective demo.
Yeah.
Because those buildings, I know one of them had the roof and.
Yeah.
Or didn't have a roof.
Has a roof-ish.
Or doesn't anymore.
In a couple places.
Maybe not after this last snow. I don't.
So I can follow up with time bond and get you those numbers. I don't know how long it will take. There's been about a year plus where we've been silent on this, so it may take a while to get back into their queue and get on their active list again. There may be a small consulting cost that I can bring to the 3 of you if time bond needs that to do this work. Are those reasonable next steps? Is that how you want to proceed? Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Sounded like yes, quietly.
Yes.
It is 9:25,
I
and
know.
this is not an exciting topic, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Glenn.
Well,
Good night.
what's your definition of exciting? Because my blood pressure is going up.
Fair enough.
We're not talking about the Park Service. Okay. Back to budget. Do we want to find another time slot to put Brian on? Okay. In the future? It's fine. We can talk about his deficits or our deficits. Live with the board.
Can he go on the education night next week?
I'll see what we can do.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna have to plan it out next.
Because I had a whole night full of other things for the Monday. So we're going to have to figure that out. We'll do what we can. I don't know if we'll be able, we have some other time sensitive things too. So we'll see how we can plan that night. And if possible, we'll add it in, yes. If not, we'll find a spot for it and talk about it next week.
Okay.
Anything else for the joint meeting? All right, well, motion to adjourn the joint meeting at 9:26 and continue the select board meeting.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Yeah, that
Thank
was
you
the
all.
most enthusiastic all night. Thank you, everyone. All right. Do you guys want to get into IT staffing discussion tonight or table that for another night?
I'd like to table it, I think, for another night.
Okay.
Can I,
It's not a hill I'm gonna die on.
That's fine.
can I just mention, there's services available through the Mass Executive Office of Technology and Security Services.
Yeah.
I think that EOTS is what we call it. And I had the opportunity to talk to the director of the municipal and school program, her full-time job is to work with local municipalities and regional school districts and to work on assessing their security levels, make any recommendations on vulnerabilities, and to oversee a lot of the grant programs that help connect and do best practices. And so I'd like to engage them on some of this conversation. And bring them in to help us do a bit of a review of our services. They're offering those on a rolling admission. There's no formal deadline. We could apply any time, and they have capacity in the program. And I gave a high level of what we're working on right now, and they said that they could help offer some guidance as well on all the points that you all talked about during the IT conversation. They gave some very sobering presentations on examples of what's happened to other municipalities throughout the Commonwealth. Even ones well-staffed, well-positioned, well-equipped, thought they had everything ready to go, and it took one click of an email by an employee for something to worm its way through the system. So it was like I said, it was a very insightful conversation. Definitely brought home the realities of today. And if the state's willing to offer some guidance and some best practices and potentially even some grant funds, it could be a little silly not to at least hear what they would have to offer.
Yeah, I think that's clear. We should avail ourselves of that.
Yeah.
And it costs us nothing but our time and attention. It's not
I love that.
not to make light of the time. I saw the look. I understand we are definitely strapped thin, but I do think that if this is a topic that we've decided is a priority, then we got to make time for this.
Yeah.
Is that something that can happen before the annual town meeting?
I don't know how quickly they mobilize,
Okay.
but if we put the inquiry in sooner than later, I think we can get that at least started and at least get some feedback in time for you to make decisions. It may not be your full assessment.
Right.
It may not be everything,
Right.
but it may be at least enough to get you moving.
So I'm going to recuse myself at 9:30 as the board and just say, I think that's great. I think there's other resources and grants and things out there and state agencies that do this and can help. And it's just time. But I'm also concerned about that if I don't know how to ask this in both ways, but if you're relying on Brian to do that with the workload that he already has, and I don't know what the engagement looks like, and I don't know if that's something that
I can ask.
I can fit in with the hours that we have right now
Right.
to take the bulk of that, because I don't. Some of it will be needed because he's not going to have those answers, but then also just the bandwidth piece. So I don't know how to better phrase that, but you know what I'm getting at.
I see where you're coming from, and my response to that would be, we don't know how soon and we don't know how much until we ask those questions.
Fair.
And when we have those answers, I truly feel the sense of urgency that we need to do this, the overall proper staffing of this. And if it's a matter of supporting that bandwidth and offsetting it, let's see what it is, and I'll pitch in where and how I can, and if there's other things, because ultimately we're going to have to make a very big decision. So.
And I wasn't saying that to try to pressure or prioritize the
No.
decision. I more meant like, and maybe the question, Brian, if you know, because I haven't looked at it and I know you spoke with them, to get to the point of how much is going to be involved in it what's that look like? Is that something that's an easy lift or not, or do you not know? To even get those answers.
I don't have the level of detail. I think that we need to have the conversation that you all are referring to.
Okay.
The sense they tailor the program to the town. So
Okay.
obviously they're walking in with their best practices and their skill sets and experience. You all discussed today where we are, where we weren't 10 years ago, and I would venture to guess that some of our colleagues throughout the state are at varying levels of sophistication. So I think they tailor it to the town
Okay.
and where they really are, and then compare that to their best practices and hopefully scale to the appropriateness for the municipality and its complexity. Because you could get deep in the weeds, and I'm sure for large municipalities, and we don't need that.
Yeah.
So it is scalable. To answer your exact question, like how long such an assessment takes, or how much staff time we would need to devote to that, I don't have that level of information.
Maybe my question is simpler than that. It's, do you think we can get that information from them pretty easily to be able to
Oh,
scope it?
I think I can get this
Or do we
week.
need to apply, and how much does it take to get
I think
there?
I can get largely what you need this week.
Okay, so we can get that answer easily and
Oh,
then
yeah,
have
yeah.
a better understanding of whether there's something needed.
They're very engaging, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
You know, I think availing ourselves of that process isn't gonna stop us from moving ahead where we're working at now, at
Yeah.
the level we're working at, and moving towards bringing in a full-time person.
Right.
I think those are two separate things, so.
Well, if anything, you do it and it either aligns and bolsters what you're already thinking and talking
Right.
about,
Right.
or, I don't think this is the case, it comes back and says, you're wildly off. This is really where you should be heading and you're over here.
Right.
And if anything, it gives you the opportunity for a course correction. Again, I don't think that's where we are.
Right.
I think it will largely reaffirm some of the things that we've already mentioned and are trying to address, and or may make us available aware of resources that are available that we weren't previously part of or familiar with.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and that may make this lift a little easier. So it's okay to explore that and get you these answers at least?
I think so.
I would,
Yeah.
I would appreciate that.
Okay, happy to.
Yeah, and Jim said he'd try to make himself available, and I would do the same.
Thank you, gentlemen.
This is, it's not a one-person
No,
situation.
you
so.
two have stepped up, and I really appreciate it, so thank you.
And obviously, help as you need on it too.
Of course.
Okay. Are you guys done on that?
Yep.
Okay. I
We're
will
adjourning?
rejoin at 9:35.
Thank you.
And then review and approval of the treasury warrants.
Oh, jeez.
Should be right next to you.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple of questions when I was looking through the warrant,
Okay.
17th or
and
okay.
page 15 of page 23 of AP warrant 17, it,
Which page of the warrant? Sorry.
page 15,
15.
is that 15 or 16? Looks like it's 15.
Okay.
I'm reading my own writing. It had rent a container
Yes.
for $8,050.
Yes.
What is that?
Great question. Connex boxes, like the shipping containers.
Yeah.
So down at the former transfer station that now is more a very light duty recycling center. We still have some things that we still collect from residents, such as appliances, electronics, like TVs and things of that nature. Those were all stored outside
Yep.
in like a lean-to structure, so it was kind of exposed to the elements. And while nobody's supposed to be going down there after hours or on the weekends, people do, and they leave things. And so we were getting to a point where the vendor that comes to collect those items and they pick them up in cardboards, they couldn't get to them safely. It also was starting to show its age. So the request was, can you please put this in a dry, properly sized container that's secure on the weekends so that things stay organized. So you have a small recycling program, dividend program from the state, from Mass DEP. We get the grant money every year, so we use that source. The first quote we got was well over $5,000 for one, and we found a new vendor that could do it cheaper, and it allowed us the capacity for two to be able to store all those electronics and then other recycling materials like fluorescent light bulbs and other things that need to be stored and dry until the vendors can come and pick them up. So two showed up, they're 20 feet long. This was a much more competitive price, and it came out of that grant.
Thank you. So is that a yearly rental fee?
No, these are purchased. You own these.
Oh, we own these.
The company is
Okay.
Rent-A-Center. I don't know why they call themselves that, or Rent-A-Container.
They probably do rent them.
They sold them to you.
Oh,
We
okay.
bought
These
them.
are your
See,
purchase
that-
price.
That was where,
Oh, I'm so sorry.
You're like, we don't rent
where-
anything. What is this?
that was where
Erving?
I was having an issue, possible issue.
Right.
Because I didn't understand.
That
the
would be
process,
awful.
So,
No, these are not.
got
I'm
it.
so sorry for
so
that.
we actually own these.
These are yours.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All
And they've
right,
only been
so-
used one other time. As they were used for one shipping thing, and so we
Yeah.
are their second owner, and that's it. So they're in good condition.
Oh,
They're like
okay.
brand new.
All right.
They're used, but they're
I was wondering why would we be renting at $8,000?
Yeah, you would have thought I lost my mind.
Right.
They did ask me about it ahead of time and said, this is the funding's for this and it's going to be used in this purpose. And I said that makes sense. I'm sure the board would not be concerned, but would
Okay.
if
Purchase.
but you caught rent on there, and I would have
Yes.
asked the same thing. So
no,
I'm glad you did.
I can
Yes.
live with a one-time purchase.
One-time
Yeah,
purchase.
exactly.
Beautiful.
Out of funding from DP. So
Yes.
And
Even better.
So the other one was on page 16 of 23,
Okay.
and it's an invoice for $12,667 to Weatherhead. So the only thing I could figure out after thinking about it for a long time was that a rebate. Not a rebate, but
an abatement.
an abatement.
That is.
Is it a water bill? No. No,
That's
'cause
got to
we
be
didn't have that error.
something in the. I mean, the code on that is the general fund taxes for 2026. I believe the RE may signify a rebate. But
Oh, I bet I know what that is.
that's coming out of our revenue line items. That charge-off number is not a typical expense fund. So that's something in the revenue section. So that is related to tax collections.
So I can almost guarantee I know what it is, or I mean, you can ask the tax collector, probably would know better,
Right.
but more than likely, that property changed hands. This abatement is to the prior owner.
Yep.
So probably when the taxes were paid and the balance of the tax year, they
It's potentially true.
may have had some abatement but I don't know why it'd be an abatement, but there may have been something related to that
Right.
because the transaction happened, and so there may have been some adjustment needed.
But
I
this
would have thought
cost,
it would have been between the buyer and seller, but I don't know.
but this cost was attributed back to
Taxes?
the taxes.
Taxes.
So, yep,
FY26 taxes.
correct.
So, which is interesting because it's not even paid yet. That must have been from the first.
Must be from the first payment.
Hmm.
There should be a detailed slip in that warrant.
Oh,
bundle next year.
that's silly. We're looking at the summary, but we have the detail.
You do have the detail right there. But for the 10,000
So we
people
can
watching, this is
look
how
at the
closely they read everything.
Specialty items, yes. Is that going to preclude you from wanting to pay it?
No.
Okay. Then can we look at it after?
Yeah.
All right. Just to not belabor or keep everyone here.
No.
Okay.
Those-
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Is it the 16th or 17th or both?
This should be the 17th.
One was 15 and one was 16.
Yeah, no, I meant the warrant. In the packet, it says both, but I'm assuming it's both supposed to be 17.
17.
Okay,
Yes.
that's what I thought.
It is
Just
one
wanted to make
17.
sure.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the 17th accounts payable warrant for fiscal 26 in the aggregate amount of $314,684.88 as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And then as authorized by the select board, I approve the following payroll warrants and I'm reporting my actions. The 15th payroll warrant for FY26 in the aggregate amount of $241,281.87 and the 15th payroll benefits warrant in the aggregate amount of $84,752.74. Both dated January 29th, 2026.
Second.
No motion needed, just FYI if there was questions or anything from that round. Well, it should be good. Any other business? Motion to adjourn, 9:42.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.